Chapter 9:38. Sky Execution stopped when he heard this. Monarch, I'm very sorry. Sky Execution is a bodyguard and cannot stay any longer. He only bowed slightly to the Lord of Still Wind Kingdom. He did not even look at the people around him, as if there was no chance for him to stay. It wasn't just the king of the Still Wind Kingdom. Everyone who witnessed this scene understood a little. This Sky Execution and his two companions with similar strength were most likely not warriors from the lower realm. They should be from the heaven realm. With their arrogance and strength, they did not want to get to know anyone from the lower realm. It was just that young Master Titan had been mistaken by Hu Lei as an ordinary hedonistic son of rich parents and provoked him. That was why he had appeared to protect him. To get to know this Sky Execution, it would have to be under normal circumstances. Absolutely impossible. Although he was a bodyguard, his status might be much higher than the Lord of Still Wind Kingdom. Of course, the Lord of Still Wind Kingdom was not angry at his rudeness, but was pleasantly surprised. The more arrogant Sky Execution was, the more powerful his background was, and the nobler this young Master Titan status was. It was a little difficult to get to know Sky Execution now, but that was not the main point. Flattering this young Master Titan was the most important thing. The Lord of Still Wind Kingdom looked at Yu Yang again. His eyes were filled with surprise, as if he had seen a priceless, mystical treasure mountain. Of course, he could still be considered to be all right. The experienced and prudent big manager, Yu was also constantly swallowing his saliva, suppressing the excitement in his heart. As for class leader Jean, he had long since started crying. His tears flowed freely. The white-bearded Fox Clan elder who had tried to sow discord had a pale face. He was afraid that this young master would bear a grudge. He wanted to apologize, but his status was not high enough, so he did not dare to step forward. Young Master Titan, please forgive Hu Lei for being blinded by greed just now. Hu Lei, who had just escaped death, immediately knelt down. With him taking the lead to kneel, his friends and the Fox Clan elder all knelt down and begged for forgiveness. Regardless of whether he had made a mistake, as long as this young master could be magnanimous, then everything would be fine. Which was more important, face or life? Of course it was life. If they did not have life, where would their face come from? No one felt that it was inappropriate for a group of heaven-rank powerhouses to kneel. On the contrary, even the Still Wind Kingdom's king inwardly praised Summon Thunder, who took the lead to kneel and beg for forgiveness. Even a blind person could see that this young Master Tan wasn't a hedonistic young master who considered everyone beneath his notice. On the contrary, he was a tough mouth but a soft heart, a disciple of the famous sect that was extremely compassionate. From the way he spared Hu Lei just now, one could tell that this young master was probably new to the world and didn't know much about the cruelty of the world. He was still in the growth stage, and he still liked to distinguish between good and evil when dealing with things. He didn't care about strength and relationships. If he had been traveling for a long time, then the family behind him wouldn't have sent an elite like Sky's Retribution to protect him. His elders probably knew that he was a troublemaker, so they did this. Yu Yang waved his hand, expressing his magnanimity to let it go. From his attitude, the king of the Still Wind Kingdom could keenly tell that this young master did not like the complicated etiquette. He had probably been a young master for a long time and liked new things. He had just come out and did not want to live the life of being escorted around by thousands of people. Hu Lei and his heaven-rank companions secretly heaved a sigh of relief at this moment. That was close. Fortunately, it didn't make a big fuss just now. If someone had attacked this young master, things would definitely not be so simple. No, if the Still Wind Kingdom's king had not come to their rescue, this wouldn't have happened. Thinking of this, Hu Lei and the others went forward to thank the Still Wind Kingdom's king. As the saying goes, no discord, no concord. The friendship between men is forged with their fists. The Still Wind Kingdom's king reckoned that Yu Yang was still in the hot-headed and impulsive phase of youth, and pretended to be heroic. He took the opportunity to get close to Yu Yang, and warmly invited this noble young master to his residence for a small gathering. He almost pulled him in forcefully. Still Wind Kingdom's king, please wait a moment. I still have something to deal with. Yu Yang obviously had to keep him in suspense. I don't know if Brother Titan has anything else to say. Just tell me. Still Wind Kingdom has tens of thousands of people to order around. The Still Wind Kingdom's king felt that he was really lucky this time. There was actually a young master from the upper realm traveling to his territory. If he could form this relationship, his future would be limitless. It's a small matter. There's no need for the king to do anything. Yu Yang waved his hand, then turned around to instruct Feng Ji and Jin Yun. Go find Zhongguan and the others. How do these guys become guards? Although this young master gave them a holiday, it's really annoying to not be able to find them. If they can't be found in 10 minutes, then tell them that I'm going to fire them and tell them not to come back in the future. Captain, look quick. Young master, we came back late. This is your favorite roasted dragon wing. Here, it's still fresh and hot. Feng Ji, what happened? 5 shadows flew back with big and small plates of delicious food in their hands. When they saw that Yu Yang was surrounded by a group of people, they hurriedly rushed back and stood guard beside him. They first greeted Yu Yang with a smile. The man who seemed to be the leader of the group, a tall hat, then asked Feng Ji quietly what had happened. Only then did everyone realize that these were all Heaven Stage guards on the surface. The strongest one had the strength of Heaven Stage Level 3. The rest were about the same. 2 were Heaven Stage Level 2, 2 were Heaven Stage Level 1, and the last was Feng Ji and Jin Yun, who were Quasi-Heaven Stage and below Heaven Stage. What made Hu Lei and the others feel strange was that although the Heaven Stage Level 3 guard captain was of the same level as them, his strength seemed to be above the peak of Heaven Stage Level 3. He could faintly suppress him, which was truly indescribably strange. However, the Still Wind Kingdom's king knew what was going on. These guards, especially the man wearing the crown, already had strong willpower. That was the initial awakening form of the god's will. This guard captain, who had an unwavering strong willpower, had no problem suppressing Hu Lei, who was at the same level as him. Moreover, this guard captain with a heavy crown was still hiding his strength. He was probably about the same as his personal guard captain, Ba Lei. They were both Heaven Stage Level 4. So how could Hu Lei and the others be compared to him? In other words, there was no need for Sky Execution to make a move. This guard captain with a heavy crown could send Hu Lei away. It was just that they went to buy food for the young master, and there was no one to protect them. That was why Sky Execution, who was secretly protecting them, appeared. Thinking of this, the Still Wind Kingdom's king secretly overestimated the identity of Yu Yang, the young master of Titan. The combination of the guards in the light and in the dark, this kind of thinking and courage was not something that an ordinary family could do. Even if it was not the 4 great families, this young master was probably an extremely noble disciple of a famous sect. Feng Ji coughed slightly. You missed a lot of wonderful things. Zhongguan, the guard captain, had a tacit understanding. There was no trace of rehearsal on his face. He took out his Oscar-level acting skills and asked, "What did we miss?" "Get lost. Take the plate away. I am full of anger now." Yu Yang kicked this guy away. Zhongguan, this cockroach, was already used to Yu Yang's punches and kicks. He immediately flew back and showed his true respect. His acting skill index reached 1,000,000. "Young master, don't be angry. Don't be angry. I will do it right away." "Feng Ji, are you mute?" Young master wants to catch that pair of barbarian bulls as guards." Feng Ji, whose collar was grabbed by Zhongguan, pointed to the barbarian bull brothers who were still in the prison cart. "Hey, this has nothing to do with us." The poor barbarian bull brothers, after watching the show for a long time, suddenly realized that it seemed to be circling around their heads. The barbarian bull boss hurriedly shouted with a loud voice, "I don't know your young master. You can fight however you like, but you can't take it out on us. We didn't scold at young master just now." The second barbarian bull almost cried. The 2 of them were stupid, but they were not fools. The strength of this young master was not something they could provoke. Besides, they didn't want to be enemies with this young master. Just now, he stood up to support justice. Yu Yang clapped his hands and said something as natural as the truth in front of everyone's eyes. He said, "Drag Dalong and Erling away from me and beat them hard." Everyone was dumbfounded. What a guy. Are you saving people or beating them? Moreover, you said that you beat people with a clear conscience. Only a young master like you who never knew what pain was would be able to do that. Under the sweaty gaze of everyone, Zhongguan, the guard captain, stood at attention and saluted, yes. When He Tu and Bai Ma opened the prison cart and dragged out the barbarian bull brothers, he asked again, young master, how long will they beat them? Yu Yang said without thinking, beat them until they are willing to call me young master. As soon as he said this, all of them fell to the ground. People like Jean, who couldn't wait to hug Yu Yang's thigh and beg, send someone to beat me up, right? Just beat them up and they could be recruited as guards. Isn't this too easy? Jean only now understood why a scumbag like the fiery man Jin Yin would be hired as a guard by this young master. It turned out that this guy was lucky to be beaten up. Damn, this fiery man Jin Yin really had 18 lifetimes of dogshit luck to meet such a young master. No, we won't call you young master. Don't even think about it. The first barbarian bull struggled angrily. Let's discuss, don't hit my face. The second barbarian bull brother pleaded weakly. Everyone was stunned. He was really dizzy. On one side, he wanted to be recruited as a guard, but on the other side, he would rather be beaten than compromise. This beating was enough to slander Jean and the others. This was a beating that could change their fate, but unfortunately, it wasn't them. Chapter 9:39. Zhongguan and the others surrounded them and did not hold back. They did not hold back and beat them up fiercely. Even Feng Ji and the newly joined Jin Yin seemed to be injected with chicken blood. They rushed in and kicked the barbarian bull brothers with all their might, as if they were afraid that they would be at a disadvantage if they fought for a second longer. The second brother barbarian bull was beaten to tears, but the eldest brother barbarian bull scolded loudly, especially Feng Ji and Jin Yin, who were weaker than them. You two remember, when your grandfather barbarian bull escapes, if I don't break all your bones alive, we won't be called Nyopai. Hit me well, you bastard. Hit me harder if you have the ability. Hit me harder. Did you not eat? You're such a weak trap. Feng Ji and Jin Yin were enraged and used all their strength. They fought with all their might. The old foxman, class leader Jean, and the others were really afraid that they would beat the barbarian bull brothers to death. Hu Lei and the other heaven rankers stole a glance at Yu Yang and realized that this young master's face was calm and without a trace of pity. They were secretly shocked, as expected of the descendant of a famous clan that looked down on the lower realm like ants. The personal guard captain behind the king of Still Wind Kingdom frowned slightly, but the king of Still Wind Kingdom gave him a look. If he could befriend this young master titan, what was wrong with giving insignificant prisoners like the barbarian bull brothers to him? On the contrary, if he could gain his favor this way, then it would be a real investment. The other party did not even look at the two sacred objects that were given just now. It was obvious how rare the things that could enter this young master's eyes were. What had he not seen before? He probably took a fancy to the barbarian bull brothers because of their foolishness. He felt that he needed too foolishness to amuse him in his daily life. He did not really lack any guards. The personal guard captain nodded, but his expression was a little questioning. Could it be related to the Liberty Queen? Manager Yi saw it and quickly waved his hand. He came out early. He understood the process. This young master titan did not know any Liberty Queen at all. It was completely an impromptu idea that led to the conflict with Hu Lei. If this young master titan really knew the Liberty Queen, then would the Liberty Queen really let a group of heaven rankers capture her? One sky execution was enough to kill all the catchers in a second. Moreover, there were many more who were secretly protecting this young master titan. The king of the Still Wind Kingdom didn't think much of it. What Liberty Queen? If it wasn't for the domain emperor's order to capture and kill her, he wouldn't even bother with her. He didn't have the strength, and he didn't have the manpower. What's the use of just a bunch of poor believers as followers? On the contrary, those paupers were burdens. If not for those fellows being greedy for money and betraying intelligence, he wouldn't have been able to capture the Queen of Freedom so easily. In fact, if this young Master Titan was tired of playing with women and wanted to play with the Queen of Freedom, he would also offer her up with both hands. Not to mention the barbarian bull brothers. Who would want that kind of brainless fellow? That would be a waste of rice. Zhong Guan dragged the barbarian bull brothers to one side. It was estimated that in an hour or two, these stubborn barbarian bull brothers would not call young Master Tai Tan young master. Their brains were full of muscles, and it was a bit difficult for them to twist and turn. It didn't seem very good to stand here and accompany them, but it didn't seem appropriate to invite this young Master Tai Tan into the residence. The king of the Still Wind Kingdom signaled to his subordinate, Chief Steward Yi. Chief Steward Yi signaled to Class Leader Jean. The meritorious performance depends on you. When Class Leader Jean got the signal, he was so excited that his whole body trembled. If it was any other time, he would definitely kowtow to the king of the Still Wind Kingdom to express his gratitude. However, he couldn't do it now. He had to settle the matter first. Otherwise, if he failed to render meritorious service, it would be a huge crime, and he might even be skinned and dismembered. Young Master Titan, cough, cough. This is the king of the Still Wind Kingdom. Cough, cough. Your Majesty, it's like this. Young Master Titan came to our Green Willow City with incomparable enthusiasm, just to participate in a lively birthday banquet. Previously, he even specially found me. Class Leader Jean began to feel nervous, a little unsure of where to start. However, he was a slippery character after all, and immediately found the right feeling. He talked nonstop about Yu Yang and the king of the Still Wind Kingdom, as if the two people standing in front of him were thousands of miles apart. So that's how it is. Young Master Tai Tan came from thousands of miles away. Still Wind Kingdom was impolite for not going out to meet you. What the king of the Still Wind Kingdom wanted was an excuse. When he heard that this young master wanted to join in the fun and participate in the birthday banquet, he was immediately overjoyed. It turned out that this young master wanted to join in the fun. Why didn't he say so earlier? Chief Steward, he also secretly scolded himself for being stupid. Class Leader Jean had just mentioned this matter when he was defending. How could he have lost his mind? He hurriedly respectfully invited Yu Yang to move to the Green Willow City Lord's residence. Yu Yang smacked his head. Although I got an invitation from Class Leader Jean, I forgot to give a gift. This young master is the one who is really impolite. He took out a few items from his storage ring and looked through them one by one. None of them were rare treasures, but he still seemed to be dissatisfied. Everyone was dazzled. It could be said that they had never seen so many treasures in their entire lives. Compared to the treasures of this young Master Titan, the so-called treasures they had seen before were all trash. They were all things that couldn't be put on the table. The king of the Still Wind Kingdom was used to seeing treasures, but these treasures also made his mouth dry. He knew that it was impolite, but he couldn't help but ask. Just now, that was a martial spirit pill, right? It seems a little disrespectful to give a martial spirit pill on a birthday. Let me see again. When Yu Yang said this, the king of the Still Wind Kingdom's heart twitched. This martial spirit pill was of the highest quality. It couldn't be bought no matter how much money you had. With it, his strength should be able to go up another level. There was nothing more suitable than this martial spirit pill. The problem was that this young Master Titan felt that it wasn't suitable. He was too embarrassed to ask for it forcefully. His heart was bleeding. Gulp. Chief Steward Yi, Class Leader Jean, Hule, and the others weren't blind. They all desperately swallowed their saliva. If it was someone else, they would have already snatched it. However, this was the young Master Titan. Snatching him was equivalent to suicide. This isn't too good. This is too simple and crude. Let me see again. This one, it seems, anyone is fine. I like them all. This sentence was suppressed in the Still Wind Kingdom's king's heart. He didn't dare to say it out loud. Just where is this young master from? He has too many treasures. How can he let people live? He's about to slander me to death. Hule and the other heaven rankers cried. They had seen rich young masters and hedonistic young masters, but they had never seen such a prodigal one. Even a domain sovereign wouldn't be able to resist and become a robber, let alone ordinary people. However, they could only think about it. If they really wanted to take action, even if Yang gave them the treasures, they wouldn't dare to do it. Were these treasures something that they could pry into? It would be good enough if they could satisfy their eye cravings. Yang flipped through the treasures for a long time. The still wind kingdom's king and the other's eyes were cramping. There were too many treasures, and every one of them was of the highest grade. How annoying. Finally, after much difficulty, Yang finally chose one. The still wind kingdom's king turned pale with fright. With a little disbelief, ecstasy, and a trace of fear, he shouted, "God's blood? No, that is too precious. It's really, really hard to bear such a generous gift. It's too precious. Ah, no, this is really—" Seeing the small jade bottle in Yu Yang's hand that contained a drop of God's blood, the still wind kingdom's king wished he could swallow it whole. However, on the surface, he had to reject it. His heart ached. Damn, the God's blood was right in front of him, but he actually wanted to reject it. This was crazy. Of course, he couldn't agree, nor did he dare to reach out and take it from Yu Yang's hand immediately. Other than ecstasy, he was also a little afraid. This young Master Titan was hot-headed and gave him the God's blood. If his family went against him, he would still be dead even if he got the God's blood. This gift was too precious, and he might not be able to bear it. However, this was the God's blood that he dreamed of. It was right in front of him, but he couldn't accept it. This wasn't snatching it. It was a gift from the other party, and he couldn't accept it either. The still wind kingdom's king was about to cry. On the surface, he had no choice but to feign this item is too precious for me to accept look. He rejected it again and again, but his eyes were glued to the jade bottle, as if he wanted to stare at it for the rest of his life and never let go. Chief Manager Yi, Class Leader Jean, and the others almost fainted. There were people giving God's blood as a birthday gift? What kind of people were they? Even if they wanted to scare people, they shouldn't do it like this. This almost scared him to death. Couldn't this young Master Titan give him a normal gift? If this went on, his heart wouldn't be able to take it. It's too precious. Young Master Titan, this is really, really unacceptable. Really, Still Wind Kingdom definitely can't accept this, but I can accept it as a token of goodwill. The Still Wind Kingdom's king really wanted to slap himself, but he had no choice. He had to say some polite words. He could only hope that this naive young Master Titan wouldn't believe his polite words. It's fine, it's just a drop of God's blood. It's nothing, I still have a big bottle. Yu Yang's indifferent attitude made everyone want to vomit blood and cry. He was really a rich young master who didn't know that there was poverty and suffering in this world. Comparing oneself to others would only make one angry. This saying wasn't wrong at all, since this is young master's token of goodwill. Chief Manager Yi wiped his tears. This God's blood could only satisfy his craving for the eyes. It was better for him to return to being a chief manager. Yes, good. Since this is young Master Titan's token of goodwill, then Still Wind Kingdom will be ashamed to accept it. This drop of God's blood is the highest congratulatory gift for a birthday banquet. It should be placed at the top of the hall and spread to all the distinguished guests to show young Master Titan's great kindness. Men, welcome young Master Titan and the God's blood into the residence with the etiquette of welcoming the Heavenly Emperor of the Tianyuan region. If it wasn't for the fact that everyone was watching, the Still Wind Monarch would definitely swallow the God's blood in one gulp. Of course, he knew that he couldn't rush this. He had to give this young Master Titan enough face. If he swallowed it impatiently and left a bad impression on the other party, this young Master Titan might just flick his sleeves and leave. The God's blood was already in his hands. The most important thing now was how to serve this young master who had countless treasures. As for eating it, he would wait until after the birthday banquet to find the best time to eat it when he was in his best condition. Otherwise, the God's blood would backfire. If he was not careful, he might even let some heaven rankers around him to plot against him. My congratulatory gift is number one? Haha, good, what I want is number one. Yu Yang seemed to be very pleased with himself, just like some rich second generation flaunting their wealth in the Celestial Empire. If he didn't know that he was acting, Feng Ji and a newly joined fiery person Jin Yun might have secretly advised him. After all, using God's blood as a gift was really too wasteful. However, they had long known about the plan. They knew that this drop of God's blood was only the root of the disaster that would bring chaos to the whole Still Wind Kingdom. This young Master Titan, who smiled brightly but killed people without a trace, used the God's blood as a huge bait. Who knew how many big fishes would die under this fatal bait? Chapter 940. The effect of a drop of God's blood as a congratulatory gift would definitely shake the entire city, even if the Windstop Kingdom wanted to keep a low profile. However, since this was a congratulatory gift, it was not appropriate for him to stop the news from spreading. Furthermore, unless everyone was killed, there was no way to stop the news from spreading. The news of young Master Titan's congratulatory gift of God blood spread like wildfire throughout Green Willow City. The Mercenary Guild secretly sent out 10 groups of people to leave the city and spread the news. As for the spies who had been lurking in Green Willow City, there were countless of them. They had been planning this for a long time. Now that the God's blood had appeared, they were naturally anxious to report it to their masters. After inviting Yu Yang into the residence, the king of Still Wind Kingdom wanted to invite his most beloved 88th concubine, the Pearl Radiant Beauty, to meet him. Hearing that the other party had sent a drop of God's blood, the beady beauty was stunned. He was astonished. He was overjoyed. However, she was not willing to come out to welcome the distinguished guest. "Beauty, what are you worried about?" The king of the Still Wind Kingdom felt a little strange. His pearl-glowing beauty was also a person who loved crowds, and she was also the protagonist of the birthday banquet. Why would she refuse to attend the banquet when the other party had sent divine blood to congratulate her? "Your Majesty, I don't think it's that simple. How many people in the world could congratulate a stranger with God's blood? If it was really as His Majesty had said, it would naturally be a good thing. However, if it was intentional, it would be necessary to guard against it. I'm just a weak woman. It doesn't matter if I die, but I'm afraid that Your Majesty's great foundation will be ruined." Hearing the pearlescent beauty's words, the king of Still Wind's excited and heated mind quickly calmed down. Indeed, there was no such thing as a free lunch in this world. Even if this young Master Tan came unintentionally, wouldn't it be terrible if he took a fancy to his beloved concubine? "Well said, Beauty. You've reminded me that in the Tianhua domain, we must always be on our guard. It's always good to be careful." The king of Still Wind Kingdom pondered for a moment and decided to test the generous young Master Titan first. "Your Majesty, I'm sick. Why don't you arrange a few beauties for this young master to test his attitude?" The Pearl Beauty was indeed very careful. The king of Still Wind Kingdom had discussed it with her. When she came out, she immediately apologized to Yu Yang, saying that her beloved concubine, who was about to celebrate her birthday, was too frightened by the assassination attempt and was not feeling well, so she was temporarily unable to come out to meet guests. He also said that in order to express his apology, his beloved concubine had decided to present young Master Titan with 2 stunning beauties. Moreover, he had promised that he would come out to meet him on his birthday tomorrow, and that he would personally drink wine as an apology. Yu Yang smiled indifferently at the king of Still Wind Kingdom's apology. Putting on the airs of a young master, he expressed that he was completely fine and gave her a top-grade spirit congealing pill to help the frightened beauty recover. As for the 2 beauties, he rejected them immediately. "Your Majesty, thank you for your kindness, but I have been engaged since I was young. It is an agreement of the aristocratic families, and I have yet to marry a virtuous wife. I do not have any thoughts of taking a concubine for now." When the king of Still Wind heard this, he was 80% convinced. The marriage of the aristocratic families was indeed like this. It was completely impossible to choose freely and had to be booked long ago. In a marriage of equal status, the wife had great power. If it was the kind of wife who was more controlling, if she wanted to take a concubine, she would not have to agree. If she casually took a concubine, the wife could be tortured at will, and even if she was beaten to death, she would not be guilty. If this young Master Titan had taken in 2 beauties, then it would be even more suspicious, because any descendant of the aristocratic families would have a problem with inheritance rights. As a descendant of the aristocratic families, it was impossible for him to act recklessly. This young master Tai Tan's rejection was even more reasonable and natural. After a round of drinking and celebrating, who knows how much good wine they had tasted, the king of Still Wind Kingdom secretly probed. At first, young Master Tai Tan was rather tight-lipped and rarely mentioned anything about the family and the Heaven Realm. However, a little information occasionally leaked out. All proved that he was familiar with the Heaven Realm and the four great clans. In the end, the king of Still Wind Kingdom found out the truth. It turned out that this young Master Tai Tan, when he was traveling in the Western Heaven Realm, was invited by young Master Eternal Wind of the four great clans to go to White River City to play. Green Willow City was completely unintentionally passing by. When the king of Still Wind Kingdom received this news, he was overjoyed. From the looks of it, this young Master Tai Tan was definitely not an enemy who had come intentionally, but a young master of a prestigious family who had come unintentionally. Otherwise, why would he reveal that he had an appointment with young Master Eternal Wind and was preparing to go to White River City? May I know why young Master Eternal Wind wants to meet young Master Tai Tan? When do we meet? The king of Still Wind Kingdom expressed a little concern. I didn't say when. In fact, Eternal Wind had just escaped from the Earth Demon Temple not long ago, and his entire appearance has changed into a snake-haired grimace. He probably has no face to return his family, so he wants to meet me in White River City to get something to restore his body and appearance. What kind of rare treasure does White River City have that is worth Eternal Wind going there? Yu Yang pretended not to understand and asked in return. White River City is not the territory of the Divine Light Domain Emperor. Eternal Wind is not familiar with that place. The king of Still Wind Kingdom pretended to know nothing. Forget it. No matter what it is, it definitely can't compare to my divine blood. Yu Yang was showing off like a rich second generation. Hearing him say this, Chief Butler Yi and the personal guard captain were secretly amused, and the king of Still Wind Kingdom was relieved. It seemed that this young Master Tai Tan really did not know anything. As the sky gradually darkened and the surrounding candles were lit, the king of Still Wind Kingdom saw the guard captain, Zhongguan, float in and whisper something into the young Master Tai Tan's ear. He saw that the young Master Tai Tan was unhappy, but he finally put down his wine cup, so he asked, Captain Zhongguan, do you have any good news? Let's sit down and have a cup of wine. Zhongguan bowed, but waved his hand and refused to drink. Thank you, your majesty, but the young master should not drink too much. Otherwise, it would be beneath his status to get drunk in the king's residence. Yu Yang pretended to throw away the cup in a fit of pique. Go, go, go. Even if I drink too much, I won't drink anymore. He was so angry that he did not even bid farewell to the king of Still Wind Kingdom and left immediately. Zhongguan showed a bitter smile. However, the king of Still Wind Kingdom and the others did not mind. On the contrary, they understood very well. It did not matter how many cups the young Master Tai Tan, who was of a particularly noble status, wanted to drink. But if he wanted to stay overnight, it was unlikely. Whether it was in terms of safety or life, there were certain restrictions. Not to mention safety, it was naturally difficult to get the best guarantee of safety when entering someone else's castle. More importantly, if he stayed overnight, he would inevitably have beauties to accompany him to bed. If he accidentally produced offspring, it would be intolerable for the wife who had not yet married and had no eldest son to ensure the right of inheritance. Therefore, for a disciple of famous family like the young Master Tai Tan who had not yet married, it was a dark period, the time when there was the least freedom. The king of Still Wind Kingdom understood very well why the young Master Tai Tan would walk around in boredom. The reason was that he had no freedom and was restricted everywhere. However, according to the young Master Tai Tan's performance, it was estimated that the marriage was about to be completed. This was the last trip before the marriage. Otherwise, there was no reason to refuse two stunning beauties without even thinking about it. Your Majesty, I apologize on behalf of you. I will congratulate you tomorrow. Goodbye. Zhongguan was responsible for taking the blame, repeatedly apologized, and then quickly followed and escorted Yu Yang away. There's a 99% chance that the young Master Titan is real. The king of Stillwind Kingdom was very happy. After returning to his beloved concubine's bedroom, he confirmed Yu Yang's identity to his beloved beauty. He expressed that after repeated probing, he had confirmed that this brat was not an enemy who came to find trouble. He was really an unimaginably rich disciple who was used to spending money like it was dirt. No matter what, the pearl-glowing beauty was still skeptical. However, the truth was hard for her to deny. Even if he was an enemy, which enemy would use something like God's blood as a gift? No matter how stupid the enemy was, they wouldn't do that. Wouldn't that be even more eye-catching? On the other side, in Ming Rihao's residence, Ming Rihao used the Roaring Emperor's divine roaring technique and spat out saliva like a flower. Did you eat the wrong medicine? Using God's blood as a gift, which nerve of yours came up with this stupid idea? There is nothing more stupid than this, absolutely nothing. I don't think you are an idiot normally. Why would you do such a stupid thing? Yu Yang calmly wiped the saliva off his face with a towel and said with a smile, "A person has to do a few stupid things occasionally to be normal." Ming Rihao almost went crazy from anger. No matter how stupid he was, he shouldn't use something like God's blood as a gift, right? One must know that once God's blood appeared, no one in the heaven realm would be able to restrain their evil intentions. That was God's blood. Taking it out in broad daylight and giving it as a gift, wasn't this clearly asking others to snatch it away? Forget about outsiders. Even Ming Rihao felt that he almost wanted to rob this brat. If you have God's blood and have nowhere to use it, you can give it to me. Why do you need to give it as a gift? Will Ji Feng be grateful to you? He won't. He will only secretly laugh at you for being a nouveau riche. Furthermore, I reckon that not long later, the whole Green Willow City will be in a mess because of you. This place will definitely become a place of war. If Ji Feng doesn't swallow the God's blood in time, the God's blood will fall into the hands of the Domain Emperor sooner or later. At that time, it will be difficult for you to snatch it back. If you tell others that you have God's blood, what will the few fellows in the central shrine think? What will they think? You are not executing the plan. You are not luring the enemy. You are purposely destroying and purposely messing up the whole thing. Ming Rihao was so angry that his face was distorted. It doesn't matter if it's chaotic or chaotic. It's their problem if they fight in chaos. Can't we just pick it up in the middle? Yu Yang wasn't worried that the God's blood would disappear. Even if the king of Stillwind Kingdom swallowed it, he could just kill him and dig it out from his body to refine it again. Anyway, he had Nirvana Flame and innate sword chi. As long as he had God's blood, he could return to any state. Furthermore, it was impossible for the king of Stillwind Kingdom to swallow the God's blood immediately. If he really did that, then he would be a real fool. He would definitely die. When the king of Stillwind Kingdom was in an abnormal state after absorbing the God's blood, not to mention the heaven-ranked mercenaries who were eyeing him covetously, even his personal guards would immediately kill him to snatch the God's blood. If he wanted to absorb the God's blood, he must find a safe place and spend a few months to slowly absorb the God's blood. Only then would he be able to completely transform the God's blood into his own. Not everyone had Yu Yang's Nirvana Flame, and not everyone had Yu Yang's innate sword chi. Ming Rihao was tired of scolding. In the end, he sighed, "All right, things have already developed to this extent. What do you think we should do next?" Chapter 941. Yu Yang scratched the back of his head. "I don't know what you're going to do, but I've tested on the barbarian bull brothers. Their strong bodies are the best test subjects." Using God's blood again? Ming Rihao grabbed Yu Yang's collar crazily and glared at this brat who angered him to death. If you really have so much God's blood, don't waste it on the barbarian bull brothers. You can give some to me. It took me a lot of effort to recover to my current level, and I'm not at my peak yet. If you want your ally to be of great use, give me the God's blood. It's 100 times better than wasting it on the barbarian bull brothers. You want God's blood? Why didn't you say so earlier? Yu Yang looked at Ming Rihao strangely. Who doesn't want it? Only a fool wouldn't want it. If I knew you had it earlier, I might even snatch it from you. Ming Rihao felt that this kind of question was really stupid. Sure, Yu Yang nodded his head generously, causing Ming Ri Hao to be startled. So smooth? It was very suspicious. After that, he heard Yu Yang say, "But I can't give it to you for now." He immediately understood that it was not that easy. This brat still had conditions. "Brat, don't ever have the chance to fall into my hands. Otherwise, I'll torture you to death." Ming Ri Hao was so angry that he rolled his eyes. "I'll make sure you don't get the chance." Yu Yang replied him seriously, causing Ming Ri Hao to fume even more. "Are you really going to let the barbarian bull brothers drink the god's blood?" Although the god's blood was not his, Ming Ri Hao still felt sorry for Yu Yang. Even if it was good stuff, it shouldn't be wasted like this. Who said that? I'm preparing to extract an unknown, mysterious god power from the barbarian bull brothers. Yu Yang laughed loudly. Although he had a big bottle of god's blood, it was not something that anyone could give to him. Ming Ri Hao slapped his head. He was too angry. With this brat's stinginess, it would be strange if he was willing to let the barbarian bull brothers drink the god's blood. He was worried for nothing. The barbarian bull brothers were not convinced yet. After fighting for a few hours, they were barely breathing and looked like they were about to die. Of course, that was only on the surface. If the dragon binding chains and blood tear ghost shackles were removed, it was guaranteed that they would jump up and fight Zhong Guan to the death. Yu Yang could tell at a glance that there was a strange divine power stored in the bodies of these two bull-like fellows. This kind of divine power was completely hidden and usually did not have any effect. But as long as the barbarian bull brothers were injured, this divine power would quickly recover their bodies. This was how Brother Barbarian Bull's immortal body came about. If the barbarian bull brothers' heads were not chopped off or killed in one move, then no matter how serious their injuries were, they would not be able to kill the barbarian bull brothers. Back in the Five Elements Palace of the Tong Tian Tower, Yu Yang had swindled the king of the earth out of the king of the earth. Later, the great earth heart had been merged with wild, turning her into a battle goddess who would never tire. As long as she stood on the ground, her energy would never wither. The divine power of the barbarian bull brothers was similar to the heart of earth, but different. The similarity was that this kind of divine power could restore the owner's energy and injuries. The heart of earth was limited by the ground, but could be carried out anytime and anywhere, and it would always be effective. This kind of divine power had no geographical limitations, but it was not always effective like the heart of earth. This kind of unknown divine power was usually hidden. Even in battle, it did not react. Only after the barbarian bull brothers were injured, it would play a role. The most important thing was that this kind of divine power, in Yu Yang's view, was a kind of divine power that was very unsuitable for the physique of the barbarian bull brothers. It was precisely because they were unsuitable that this kind of divine power could not play its real role, taking the two fools as his guards. Of course, this was one of Yu Yang's plans. But extracting the divine power in their bodies for research was Yu Yang's biggest goal. "You two, are you okay?" Yu Yang gestured to Zhong Guan and the others to step aside, and personally went up to ask the two fools. "Even if you die, we won't die. Damn bastard. Annoying rich young master. Even if you beat us for another day, we will never give in. Don't even think about making us surrender." The barbarian bull brother only had one mouth left, but he still kept cursing. "We won't surrender, sob sob." The second barbarian bull brother, who was beaten into a pig's head, cried very sadly, but he did not admit defeat. Actually, loyal and honest, simple, kind and brave warriors like you, I have always respected and worshipped you. How many outstanding young people like you can there be in Tianhua domain? Except for you brothers, I believe there is no one. Do you think I will beat you as fiercely and viciously as they did? How could it be possible? I have always opposed the use of violence. I like to be reasonable the most. Of course, I have to be reasonable with the right person. I can't be reasonable with some unreasonable people. However, for polite and loyal young people like you, I can't not be reasonable with you. If I use violence against you, my conscience will not be at ease." When Yu Yang opened his mouth, Ming Ri Hao almost fell to the ground. Good heavens! Even a dead person lying in a coffin would be brought back to life by this brat's words. "Ah, of course we are reasonable. The barbarian bull brother still wanted to scold, but when he heard the other party praise him as loyal and honest, simple, kind and brave, he was very excited. When he heard the other party's respect and worship, his blood surged and rushed straight to his head. In the end, when he heard that his brother was polite and loyal, he was too embarrassed to scold anymore. "You understand us too well," the second barbarian bull brother cried out. He realized that he had never met a friend like Yu Yang in his life. "Yes, you have always been misunderstood. I feel angry for you." Yu Yang expressed his deep sympathy and sympathy. "Wah!" the second barbarian bull brother cried like a child. "You guys are actually very smart. Moreover, it's not just any small trick, but great wisdom." Yu Yang continued to praise them. The barbarian bull brother's eyes also became moist. As expected of young master, Zhongguan let out a long sigh. He and his companions, the 7 of them, fought for half a day, but the barbarian bull brothers refused to yield. However, young Master Tai Tan settled them in a minute. This was the difference between them. Admirable. Feng Ji and Jin Yun, who had just joined not long ago, worshipped Yu Yang, the great hoodwinker. "Although your physiques are not bad, you guys have obviously put in a lot of effort to reach your current realm. I can see how hard you guys worked and how much sweat you guys shed." Now, every time Yu Yang said a sentence, the barbarian bull brother would nod his head and the second barbarian bull brother would wipe his tears. Finally, Yu Yang revealed a friendly smile. "I will definitely support you guys who worked so hard. 100% support. Today, seeing you guys knocked down to the ground and held captive in the prison cart, I feel unfair for you guys and feel sad for you guys. That's right, they bullied us with numbers and even used sneak attacks. Otherwise, we wouldn't have been captured." The barbarian bull brother hurriedly defended. "They are too despicable." The second barbarian bull brother was also very angry. The enemy is always despicable. Think about it. What means can the evil enemy not use? Therefore we, who are kind, will more or less suffer a little when fighting against the evil enemy, especially for brave and courageous warriors like you. How can you use your precious, simple heart to deal with the enemy's various ugly means? As a loyal believer of the Queen of Freedom, you are so kind and great. How can you fight against the enemy's heinous evil tricks? When Yu Yang said this, the barbarian bull brothers felt that the other party had really hit the nail on the head. That's right, the 2 brothers were at a disadvantage in this aspect. Then what should we do? The eldest barbarian bull felt that he had to seek help from the young man in front of him. He was the one who understood his brothers the most. "This," Yu Yang slightly muttered. "Quickly say it. We will do as you say. Everything you say is right." The second barbarian bull brother also unreservedly believed in Yu Yang, his good friend. Ming Ri Hao covered his face. "All right, you guys are fools who were sold and still helped others count money. But sometimes it's not bad to be a fool. At least you don't have to live in a dirty world of scheming and deceiving each other. If it was anyone else, I definitely wouldn't make a move, but you are kind-hearted and loyal barbarian bull brothers. If I don't help you, who should I help? Listen carefully. Not only will I help you deal with the enemy, I will also help you increase your strength. You are only at Heaven Stage Level 1, close to Heaven Stage Level 2. I have decided to help you break through to Heaven Stage Level 2. No, Heaven Stage Level 3. I want to give you ancient dragon blood, awaken the hidden energy in your bodies, and make you as powerful as a dragon. The enemy will tremble when they see you and will no longer be able to use tricks. Don't you want to save the Freedom Queen? With the primordial dragon's blood and great strength, you will be able to realize it. Don't you want to resolve the disaster in the Tianhua region and save the people? You guys are so noble. I will definitely support you." Yu Yang held the hands of the barbarian bull brothers like a leader inspecting the suffering miners in the countryside, comforting them with kind words. Wah wah wah. The second barbarian bull brother was so excited that he couldn't express it. His teeth trembled, his lips trembled, and he couldn't say a word. In the end, he burst into tears. Never had anyone support us. Even a strong man, like the eldest barbarian bull, wiped away his tears. They had followed the Freedom Queen for so many years and suffered so much. When had anyone ever supported them like today? Even if they were also believers of the Freedom Queen, they would only laugh at the brothers for being stupid, big heads and no brains, who would think that they were smart and great, who would take out the ancient dragon blood to help the two brothers increase their levels and strength. Never had a friend who understood them so well and was so generous. In the end, Yang took out 2 small bottles of ancient dragon blood. He deliberately looked at the barbarian bull brothers with a very serious expression and said word by word, "Fusing with the ancient dragon blood is very painful. Even for men like you who are made of iron, it is still very difficult to bear. Answer me, brave barbarian bull brothers. Do you have the confidence to challenge yourself and surpass yourself?" Although Yu Yang's expression was very serious, the barbarian bull brothers could see the light of encouragement in their friend's eyes. It was as warm as the sun. They wiped away the tears on their faces and shouted with all their strength, "Yes." When Ming Rihao saw this, he swore in his heart that he would never quarrel with Yu Yang ever again. This brat's mouth was the most terrifying. Maybe one day, he would be fooled by Yu Yang, and he would be as excited and happy as the silly barbarian bull brothers. Of course, he also admitted that although this method was a big deception, it was the best way to deal with the barbarian bull brothers. Furthermore, Yu Yang treated the barbarian bull brothers quite well. At the very least, a stingy guy like him would generously take out 2 bottles of ancient dragon blood to help them level up. Damn, even I don't have this kind of benefit. Chapter 942. Zhongguan and others drooled with envy. But this kind of ancient dragon blood was not something that everyone's physique could bear. They preferred Wu Ling Dan. There was no special effect at all. Although the ancient dragon blood was good, once the barbarian bull brothers fused, they became 2 muscular giants. Fortunately, the barbarian bull brothers were originally ugly and did not care about appearance. As long as their strength could go up, everything else did not matter. Of course, although Wu Ling Dan was good, this thing was not cabbage. It must be rewarded by Yu Clan's 3rd young master. In a word, you must work hard. Lazy guys should not expect Yu Clan's 3rd young master to nod his head in satisfaction. On the contrary, that would only be the beginning of punishment. Is this the divine power extracted from the barbarian bull brother's body? Yu Yang returned to the grimoire world. Drunken Cat was a little strange. How could the barbarian bull brothers have divine power in their bodies? Freedom Queen. Princess Sisai was so smart that she guessed the answer immediately. It should be that the barbarian bull brothers were seriously injured before and were about to die, so the Freedom Queen used this energy to save their lives. Yu, who was very talented in healing, felt that this unknown divine power was actually a healing energy. Its function was not to fight at all, but to restore life. What made her most certain about this was that there was no remnant of divine sense in the divine power condensed in Yu Yang's hands. Generally, only divine power to heal people would be formed like this. Yes, this is indeed a kind of healing energy. Yu Yang nodded. If the divine power is so useful to the barbarian bull brothers, why did you extract it? Drunken Cat asked with a little puzzlement. This is a feminine divine power, which is not suitable for the barbarian bull brothers, especially the barbarian bull brother who has the most divine power in his body. He has almost become a trap. Of course, he himself is unconscious. The person who gave him the divine power to heal may have wanted to save their lives, knowing that it was not good, but there was no better way. It may also be that he did not know the truth and mistakenly injected this life-saving divine power into the barbarian bull brothers. No matter what, the existence of this kind of divine power not only hindered the growth and breakthrough of the barbarian brothers, but also imperceptibly affected their character. Me extracting it is a great help to them. Furthermore, I didn't ask for their divine power for free. Didn't I give them the ancient dragon's blood in exchange? Yu Yang laughed like a profiteer. Ancient dragon blood for divine power? Only he, the thick-skinned Yu Clan's 3rd young master, could do such a righteous thing. Princess Sisai, Yu, and Drunken Cat were already used to it, so they couldn't be bothered to complain. If Yu Yang didn't do this, then it would be suspicious. However, What was the point of Yu Yang extracting this ball of divine power? He definitely wouldn't use this strange energy that could turn a man into a trap. Could it be that he wanted to marry some unlucky bastard? When Yu Yang saw the three women's suspicious gazes, he immediately shouted that he was wronged. Can't you think positively? I'm a good person. Yu Yang said that he had helped an old granny cross the road when he was young. Although the granny didn't want to cross the road, she tried her best to do a good deed. In the end, she told the kindergarten teacher about it and received a little red flower. She was beautiful for a whole week. How could a good child like him, who studied hard every day and prepared to become a scientist to build the four modernizations, use divine power to harm others? That's impossible. Divine power was a good thing. It wasn't enough for his own people. Who do you want to leave it for? I don't want it. Although the divine power had been purified by Nirvana's flame, Princess Sisai felt a psychological barrier when she thought that it was extracted from the barbarian brothers' bodies. She feared it as if it was a snake or scorpion. Tigress, you don't know what a good thing is. Although Yu Yang criticized Princess Sisai, he didn't have such a heavy taste. Although this divine power was a good thing, he wouldn't give it to his own girl. It was best for his girl to cultivate by herself. There was no need to borrow other people's power. Moreover, this divine power wasn't suitable for everyone. You're going to give it to your beast? Yu understood Yu Yang's heart very well. She immediately understood. To be precise, it's an earth divine weapon. After obtaining the earth Guai-yin fire and scarlet sky divine fire, as well as the blood pool, I wanted to level up Tao Tai. Otherwise, it would be too slow to wait for it to level up on its own. Actually, it's not only Tao Tai and Star Luo's inherent skill. Everyone's guardian beasts and the beasts contracted by guardian beasts are also not leveling up fast. Now that we have God's blood and Scarlet Sky River's two halves of God's blood pool, there's no reason for us to let the treasures lie idle and waste such a good opportunity. It could be said that Yu Yang had been thinking about this leveling plan for a long time. It was just that he didn't have enough conditions to implement it previously, so he delayed it until now. Indeed, many beasts can't be like Little One Li, Duo, Red, Man, Jiangying, and Yaoyu sisters to level up on their own. If they were still in Tong Tian Tower, it would be more than enough. However, in Heaven Realm, there are many strong enemies. If they don't level up, they will fall behind. Princess Sisai also agreed. If we want everyone to level up quickly, it's not enough to just stay in the Heaven Stairway. We have to explore God's ruins and obtain more treasures. Drunken Cat sighed slightly. Let's not think about God's ruins for now. Princess Sisai felt that it was still too far away. It was more practical to use the treasures now to level up. Everyone said that Yu Yang had a lot of treasures. He even had a big bottle of God's blood. However, in reality, it was not enough at all. In order not to be a burden, people like Duo, Red, Man, Ika, and Jiangying relied on their own hard work to level up. They gave more treasures and opportunities to their companions who had not fully unlocked their wisdom and were cultivating slowly on their own, such as Reaper Mantis Girl, Future, Chaotic Spirit, Tao Tai, Star Scorpion, Golden Beast, and Hui Tai Lang. Other than Yu Yang's beasts, there were also Shui Wuxia, Princess Sisai, Fallen Flowers, Inan, Yu Bing, Yu Shuang, Impatience, and so on. There were also companions like Yi Kong, Fatty Hai, Shui Tan Lang, Prince of Tian Luo, and Li Brothers. They often relied on Yu Yang to level up. Even the contracted beasts couldn't do without Yu Yang's help. Thinking about it carefully, those treasures really didn't count for much. Without Yu Yang's shameless and crazy plundering, without his stingy storage, without his shameless deception, where would there be treasures? Where would everyone be today? No one wanted to be a bad person, but not being a bad person meant that there was no way out. In the end, they could only let the greatest Yu Yang do it himself. Yu and the others could still understand this painstaking effort. It could be said that they had a deep understanding. Therefore, no matter what Yu Yang did, they would fully support him and would never raise any objections in the general direction. Most of the time, they hoped that Yu Yang would let go of the idea of leveling up together and use treasures to maximize his own strength. After all, He was the most important backbone of Tong Tian Tower. His strength represented everything. The stronger he was, the higher Tong Tian Tower would rise, and everyone could also follow him to a higher realm. Tao Tai. What kind of Tao Tai are you going to turn it into? Is it the Heaven's Fury Tao Tai or the Scarlet Heaven Tao Tai? The reason why Drunken Cat asked this was because Yu Yang had many kinds of flames, in addition to having the world's #1 Nirvana flame. During Yu Yang's growth, he had comprehended many kinds of fire abilities. For example, the Heaven's Fury Fire Lotus was comprehended during the battle with the Scarlet Emperor and Scarlet Concubine. There were also some fire abilities that were very special and completely Yin attribute, such as the Twilight Flame. This was comprehended by Yu Yang after the ancient arena, when he chased the enemy and went to the Heaven Realm for the first time, fighting with Yen Zun and Yen Zong. There's also the Scarlet Heaven Flame, which was close to the Divine Fire. It was obtained during the recent battle with Qi Tianhe. Yu Yang had devoured and absorbed it, fusing the power of the small code, ancient runes, and disaster god power to create a new and more powerful Scarlet Heaven Divine Flame. The Scarlet Heaven Divine Flame was close to the true Divine Fire. But after all, Yu Yang was not a divine sovereign. This Scarlet Heaven Divine Flame could at most be called a quasi-divine fire. Its power was slightly stronger than the Heaven's Fury Fire Lotus and the Twilight Flame. However, Yu Yang discovered that its greatest use seemed to be to refine treasures or enhance war beasts. It did not have its greatest value purely for battle. Among the many fire abilities, the one that Yu Yang found the most troublesome was the Earth Gui Yin Flame. This extremely quiet flame. It was an existence that could not be broken at all. Once there was an energy fluctuation, it would erupt with a destructive power that was tens of thousands of times stronger. It was unrealistic to use the Earth Gui Yin Flame to enhance the Tao Tai. Even Yu Yang was still having a headache. Therefore, Drunken Cat asked Yu Yang if he planned to use the Heaven's Fury Fire Lotus or the Scarlet Heaven Divine Flame to help the Tao Tai improve. This ball of divine power, plus Supreme Lai Ho's Raging Inferno's nucleus, Scarlet Heaven Divine Flame, and chaotic energy. Yu Yang was usually very stingy, but he spared no effort in enhancing war beasts. This was not limited to the Tao Tai. Hui Tai Lang and the Golden Beast obtained more, not to mention on Man, Duo, and Little One Li. When you have time, you should also enhance Xianxian's Aquaproof Golden Eyes Beast. That little thing is about to evolve into a holy beast. Yu made a suggestion. Of course, before this, she had also proposed to enhance Miss Panda Nyonyo. However, Yu Yang felt that Nyonyo had to lay a good foundation and should not improve too quickly. It was best to learn slowly like a child and not participate in various battles too early, so as not to affect her natural growth. In Yu Yang's mind, Nyonyo was the same as Yu Shuang. If they were to go out and participate in the war, it would be his irresponsibility as an elder brother. That lazy worm has been led astray by Hui Tai Lang. Princess Sisai got angry when she didn't mention it. I think this little fellow is quite diligent. As soon as she entered the house, she would help to put on the slippers and even fetch water for her master to wash her face. Nyonyo is not that obedient. Drunken Cat was very envious. Xianxian's discipline is extremely strict. Yu also snickered. The Aquaproof Golden Eyes Beast was usually very mischievous, but when it saw Princess Sisai, it would be so scared that it didn't even dare to breathe. All right, not for the time being. Let's wait for a while. I will first enhance the Tao Tai. Yu Yang used the three-realm compass to return to Tong Tian Tower and brought the Tao Tai, who was left in the soaring dragon continent. Hui Tai Lang, who was originally in charge of supervising Fatty Hai and the others' training, also eagerly followed. In the end, it was not only him. The Star Scorpion and the Golden Beast also ran over. If Yang wanted to level up Tao Tai, they had no objections, but good things had to be shared. Even if it was just a little, it would be good. Otherwise, they would look at Yu Yang with their big, pitiful eyes until his heart softened. A family of prodigals, only eating and not working, and even acting cute in public, it was simply unforgivable. Yu Yang scolded them. Hui Tai Lang and the others lowered their heads and received the scolding, pretending to be obedient. I will definitely change. The last drop of God's blood ran outside happily, showing off to each other while absorbing it, no longer caring about their companion, the Tao Tai. In fact, the Tao Tai was also the most bullied among them. It did all the tiring and dirty work, just like the reincarnation of the Sand Monk. Ever since the Tao Tai was born as an earthly divine weapon through the blade of Hui Jin, Hui Tai Lang finally had a little brother. Due to its lack of intelligence, the star sky scorpion that was born later on was even more cunning than the Tao Tai that was always working hard, not to mention the golden beast that was a Tong Tian beast. The Tao Tai, which never complained of hardship or tiredness, was the coolie war beast that Yu Yang admired the most. He had always encouraged everyone to learn from the Tao Tai. Naturally, he would think of it whenever he had the chance to improve. The Tao Tai grinned and laughed silently. Who said that being honest was not a good thing? The raging inferno nucleus that made Hui Tai Lang and the golden beast drool was inlaid on the Tao Tai's forehead by Yu Yang. Divine power, scarlet heaven divine flame, and chaotic energy combined to form the energy base of the raging inferno nucleus on its forehead. In Yu Yang's nirvana flame, the Tao Tai, the earth divine weapon, was reborn again. Moreover, this rebirth allowed it to directly reach its perfect state. Yu Yang stretched out his hand, and the Tao Tai transformed into the Tao Tai blade. Its power was already comparable to a divine weapon. With a light wave, a crack in time, and space was also cut open in the sky. When Yu Yang released it, the Tao Tai instantly transformed from a perfect earth divine weapon into a monstrous Tao Tai. Its body had evolved even more strangely. The Tao Tai, with its horns protruding, roared towards the sky, and its voice was like thunder. Even Hui Tai Lang, who was absorbing the god's blood outside, felt a heavy pressure. He suddenly opened his eyes, and they shone brightly. After the Tao Tai leveled up, Yu Yang also rewarded the Gold Tiger Shark King, Blood Python King, Blazing Queen Bee, and other war beasts that had been doing the dirty and tiring work. What he gave them was not ordinary flesh, but the flesh that was cut off from Qi Tian's divine body. Hui Tai Lang's saliva flowed like a waterfall, and the star scorpion was so anxious that it crawled all over the ground, but there was no share for them. Only the golden beast continued to sleep lazily, twisting its butt. It preferred to eat essence crystals or gems, so the temptation of flesh and blood was obviously not enough for it. If Yu Yang took out the sun gem, it would only drool like a pug. You guys want to eat it too? Yu Yang asked with a smile. Yes, yes. Hui Tai Lang nodded his head like a chick pecking at rice. The star scorpion behind him also nodded its head and wagged its tail, as if it was also a watchdog. Then why aren't you guys going to work? I don't want to raise a rice bucket. Yu Yang suddenly became furious. His anger was like a volcano eruption, scaring Hui Tai Lang and the star scorpion to the point that they shrunk into a ball and trembled all over. Fortunately, Yu was there and saved their lives. Otherwise, they would definitely be scolded to death by Yu Yang. Immediately after, Gray Tai Lang and the star scorpion, who had the word hard-working tied on their heads, were carrying buckets of water and brooms in their mouths, cleaning the inside and outside of the house. They were cleaning the remnants of the ice that had not been completely cleared after absorbing the ice mountain previously. Not to mention them, even the golden beast, the little thing that Xian and the others doted on the most, did not dare to sleep lazily anymore. Instead, it obediently ran to the kitchen and used its little claws to chop vegetables to help cook. As for whether it could really help or just add to the mess, it could be seen from Xiaonu's expression that did not know whether to laugh or cry. When Yu saw this scene, she revealed a smile. That's great, this is like a family. Princess Sisai looked at Yu and also smiled. She pointed out and said, That's right, the more the merrier. This is like a family. Chapter 943. After leveling up his beasts, Yu Yang turned his attention to his own training. According to Ming Rihao's intelligence, the war in Tianhua region had always been secretly manipulated by some people in the central shrine. Among those manipulating behind the scenes, there were strong enemies on the level of Ji Wuri, whose strength was close to that of a god. Those people were eyeing the divine grimoire hidden in Tianhua region. With such an opponent, Yu Yang felt that he had to become stronger. Otherwise, even if he really obtained the location of the divine grimoire, it would be difficult to gain anything. Whether it was Tong Tian Tower or Heaven Realm, it was a very realistic saying. Power was number one. Without power, you were nothing. Everything was built on top of power, and then it would extend to other things. Other than that ball of healing divine power, I also discovered a secret on the Barbarian Bull Brothers. It might not be of much use to us, but for other warriors, it would be a good benefit. Before Yu Yang started training, he first explained the situation to Princess Sisai and the others. Secret? What kind of change is that? Princess Sisai asked. It is a special way to break through the acupoints around the meridians of the human body. I think the Barbarian Bull Brothers did not know that it was someone else who used it on them. This method of breaking through acupoints is similar to a training method left behind in Tong Tian Tower, but it is different. It is also different from our dual cultivation. However, although it is breaking through at one point, it cannot be compared to us using the meridians to train the whole body. However, for some warriors who have reached a bottleneck in their growth and are unable to break through, or have never trained in this way, it is a very good way to break through. Yu Yang explained the principle of acupoints and also listed the special energy and existence of certain acupoints. For example, Bai Hui, located at the highest point of the human body, was the focal point of the 100 meridians in the body. If it was not connected, then the training would definitely be stagnant. Another example was Yongquan, located at the bottom of the human feet. If it was connected, then it would be easier to absorb energy from heaven and earth and recover. Moreover, it would make the body more balanced and the lower limbs stronger. Another example was Lao Gong, located in both hands. If it was connected, then it would be easier to release or absorb energy. Of course, the mystery of acupoints was definitely not limited to this. It was also a very profound field of study. The deeper one delved into it, the more they would discover. Yu Yang's innate invisible sword chi had been trained in this aspect since early on. However, after reaching a higher level, the 100 meridians and acupoints in the body would become one, and there would no longer be any obstacles in this aspect. Even after dual cultivation, Princess Sisai and the others would reach the point where all the meridians in their bodies were connected. Otherwise, how could they have improved so quickly? Ordinary martial artists who did not have Yu Yang's assistance and relied on their own strength would often be blocked by mental or physical barriers, forming bottlenecks that would be difficult to break through in their lifetime. Hence, the path of cultivation was extremely difficult and arduous. Even the guy from another world, Yu Yang, if he hadn't received the innate invisible sword art from the heavenly sword goddess, he wouldn't have been able to achieve what he had today. Are you saying that we should let Yi Kong, Fatty Hai, and the others train according to the Barbarian Bull Brothers method? Drunken Cat was still a little confused. No, that is a very clumsy method. Yi Yang shook his head. Then what do you mean? Yi was also confused. I'm thinking if I can use this method to combine the ideas of the predecessors to create a new method that is effective and fast in cultivation. When Yu Yang said this, Princess Sisai, who was drinking tea, immediately spat it out. Yu and Drunken Cat also coughed nonstop. Good fellow, he was really boasting shamelessly. How much courage did he need to dare to say that he wanted to create a new method of cultivation? Seeing Princess Sisai and the other suspicious gazes, Yu Yang became angry. Do you think I'm joking? It wasn't that Yu Yang had never tried to create a new method of cultivation before. For example, Yu Bing's cultivation was single-handedly done by her brother. It was completely innovative and could be said to be unprecedented. There was also Inan, Fallen Flowers, and even the Impatience. They all listened to Yu Yang's suggestions in their later stages of cultivation and carried out different degrees of innovation. Princess Sisai, Yu and Drunken Cat of course knew that if it wasn't for Yu Yang, they would at most be an innate if they followed their original cultivation method. How could they reach the level where they could even kill a heaven-ranked ranker in an instant? Yu Yang had created a lot of cultivation methods, and they were all effective. He had created even more combat skills, a variety of them. Yi Kong, Fatty Hai, the Li brothers Shui Tanlang, Prince of Tianluo, and the others all received pointers from him. Even the group of martial arts fanatics from the demonic palace often came to consult Yu Yang. Even the boss, Sky Execution, would find an excuse every few days to exchange pointers with Yu Yang, secretly learning from him and improving himself. But no matter what, it was very difficult to create an effective cultivation method. Just look at how Yu Yang had a headache over Yu Bing's cultivation in the past. That was cultivation, not eating beans. It wasn't that easy, and it wasn't that simple. Moreover, Yu Yang had only known the barbarian Bull brothers for a short period of time. No matter how many secrets he obtained from these two idiots, it was impossible for him to create a secret cultivation method immediately. Princess Sisai saw that Yu Yang was a little angry and felt that it wasn't good to attack him. Of course we will support you. How do you think we should support you? Yu Yang was happy, and his anger turned into joy. That's more like it. He took out a piece of white paper that was as big as a map and gestured for the three girls to sit closer. Then he quickly drew on it, using the tip of his pen to draw out his ideas bit by bit. For example, what kind of method or strength should be used to break through the acupuncture points on the arms? Feet, shins, knees, abdomen, chest, shoulders, neck, and head. He continuously turned all the ideas in his mind into pictures and words. Through this most intuitive method, he let the three girls, Princess Sisai, Yu Yu, and Drunken Cat, see if it was feasible or needed to be improved. At first, Yu Yang didn't realize that there were so many things to express. As the tip of the pen moved, he realized that there were more and more things presented on the paper, and the inspiration that emerged in his mind was as endless as a spring. It was impossible to draw everything on one piece of white paper. 2, 3, 4. Yu Yang had drawn a total of 9 pieces of white paper that were as big as a map. All of them were the results of Yu Yang's continuous burst of inspiration. Maybe there were some methods that needed to be improved or decided after finding out the truth. For example, on the human head, because it was directly connected to the brain, many of the acupuncture points were extremely important and could easily be life-threatening. It couldn't be casually broken through, or else the consequences would be unimaginable. However, other than the most important head, there were a few other places. In terms of the limbs, Yu Yang had almost drawn out all the acupuncture points to be broken through. He also put forward his original ideas and the insights that he had obtained after the burst of inspiration. When Yu Yang finished drawing, 2 hours had already passed. It seems feasible. Other than recognition, Princess Sisai also had an intuition that it could succeed in terms of talent. The problem is, how do we implement it? Our meridians are all connected. This kind of training method won't be very effective. Are we going to find an outsider to do the experiment? Drunken Cat raised a question. Let me do it. Yu Yang felt that it was best for him to do it himself. At least, he would have first-hand information in terms of sensing. This is too dangerous. There's no proof at all. I object. Yu Yu was worried that her brother's body would be damaged because of this, so she voted against it. Why don't we use Xiaonu's body for the experiment? Even if it's tattered, Pandora can still repair the body. Xiaonu came in with a plate of fruits and volunteered to be the first experimental subject. What she said was the truth, but how could Yu Yang bear to turn his obedient maid into an experimental subject? He refused without any hesitation. Why don't we start from easy to difficult? If there's any danger, we will stop and not continue. Princess Sisai suggested a compromise. The experiment should be done by Yu Yang himself. After all, he had the best control and the least danger. Let me help as well. Drunken Cat looked at Yu Yu. She would definitely help. By saying this, she was giving Yu Yu a way out of this embarrassing situation. Yu Yu also knew that if they really wanted to experiment, they would at least have to use Lover's dual cultivation. Her brother and Qianqian's dual cultivation would be connected by the spirit energy ribbon, and she would be able to sense it without any reservations. It would be quite awkward at that time. It wasn't that she wasn't willing to help. On the contrary, she was very willing to help him succeed. She felt that this kind of assistance was the value of her life. Lovers' dual cultivation was fine, but if her brother and sister Yi couldn't help but do an even more intimate couple's dual cultivation and start the path of husband and wife, she would be too ashamed to show her face. This possibility was very small, but it was better to be safe. Princess Sisai, however, didn't look at Yu Yu. She knew that the more she looked at Yu Yu, the more awkward Yu Yu would feel. Tigress, who was very considerate, directly pulled Yu Yang's hand and went to experiment first. She knew that Yu Yu would definitely come. The long night gradually passed. This kind of brand new secret cultivation method that had just been created was constantly verified by theory. Little by little, it was corrected through continuous failed attempts and became the correct parts. In the end, it gradually became a complete and effective cultivation method. Princess Sisai first assisted, and when Tigress got tired, Kitty would take over. The most difficult part, however, was when Yu Yu accompanied Yu Yang to find the best way to break through. When the partial cultivation method was organized into a complete cultivation system, the three girls were so excited that they jumped up. Princess Sisai passionately kissed this bad guy who created miracles again and again. From the beginning to the end, she never doubted him, but she also didn't expect that in just one night he could achieve great success. Drunken Cat's spirit and energy were overdrawn, and she was so tired that her limbs were weak, but she still squeezed into his arms and shared his kiss and the joy of his success with Princess Sisai. Yu Yu also passionately hugged him at the beginning, completely forgetting that because of the cultivation experiment, the clothes of the four people had already been turned into flying ash. The touch brought by the skin contact made her wake up in excitement. Also, Princess Sisai and Drunken Cat kissed him passionately, which also made her clearly feel weak. What made her most embarrassed was that this bad brother actually reached out his hand to touch Sister Yi and Qianqian's body. Afraid that this bad brother's hand would reach back, she quickly let go and hurriedly ran out of the door. When she pressed down her wildly beating heart, she felt that her face was burning like fire. This guy, really. However, she already knew what kind of person her brother was. Moreover, this might not be his wolf's heart, but a kind of habit or nature. If this brother did not like girls and did not have any reaction, then she would be worried. After changing her clothes, Yu Yu found Xiaonu happily humming a beautiful song in the kitchen. Looking at this happy little slave girl, Yu Yu couldn't help but feel happy. Sigh, if everyone was like her, then there would be no suffering and sorrow in the world. Sometimes she really envied her. Yu Yang only rested for a short half an hour before he got up to wash up. First, he patted Princess Sisai's little but lightly, causing her to turn over in dissatisfaction. "Don't be noisy, bad guy. Be careful that I bite you," she murmured, and in the blink of an eye, she returned to a deep sleep. With Xiaonu's help, Yu Yang put on his clothes and quickly stuffed a few snacks into his mouth. Then he pecked Xiaonu's lips lightly. Then he took the result of a night's research, the new secret skill named Meridian Explosion, and ran out. In the inn's backyard, Hui Tai Lang was lazily eating a chicken leg. On the other hand, the newly upgraded Tao Tai continued to do hard work, fighting against the Dragon Emperor in Ming Ri Hao's energy field. Sky Execution, Emperor of the Underworld, and the others controlled the energy around them, not letting it leak and destroy the surroundings, while secretly observing the new changes of Tao Tai. Faster than Star Scorpion, when Hui Tai Lang saw Yu Yang coming out, he didn't even spit out the chicken leg bone. He immediately jumped up and strode over to welcome his master. He almost said, "Master, I woke you up with a handsome face today." Star Scorpion also wanted to get closer to flatter him, but Hui Tai Lang sent him flying with a kick. F***CK, the boss, haven't even gotten his favor, and you dare to come and snatch the credit? Even if Tao Tai is a little awesome, I am still the absolute boss. Star Scorpion pestered him. You could be the boss, but you still have to fight for his favor. You can't be the only one. Feng Ji and Jin Yun almost sweated to death. Aren't these pets too intelligent? What's this? Ming Rihao noticed the small book in Yu Yang's hands. I spent a night researching it. It's a secret cultivation method that can allow martial artists below Heaven Stage Level 3 to quickly break through their limits. Yu Yang was very proud. Ming Rihao was almost scared to death. It can't be. He researched such an awesome secret technique in one night. How could he live? Oh no, his mind was shaken. He did not control the energy field well. More than half of the energy from the battle between the Dragon Emperor and Tao Tai leaked out. If it was leaked out, forget about this luxurious inn. Even a third of Green Willow City would be turned into ruins. Yu Yang threw the small book to Sky Execution. He pressed his hands together. The creation domain rose up. All the energy was instantly absorbed by him, turning into a terrifying energy ball that was extremely condensed into a black hole in his palm. Ming Rihao was embarrassed when he saw it. This brat's control was even stronger than his. No wonder Tong Tian Tower's Sky Execution said that he was an abnormal genius. However, he had the time to carefully examine Yu Yang's domain. He rushed over and looked at the secret technique that can allow warriors below Heaven Ranked Level 3 to quickly break through together with Sky Execution. It would have been better if he did not look at it. Once he saw it, he immediately shouted, "Was this really researched in one night? You're not lying to me, old Hao. Are you, you pervert? Damn you." Yu Yang was angry. "How can you say that? I'm a genius, okay? Quickly apologize, otherwise your sister will have to compensate me." "Then I won't apologize. Anyway, my sister has already been targeted by you, pervert." Ming Rihao felt that he would be at a disadvantage if he apologized again. "Damn you, what kind of big brother are you?" Yu Yang was speechless. He decided to complain to Ming Yu Guang when he saw her. This would make Ming Yu Guang stomp her feet in anger. In the end, he would teach Ming Rihao, this unscrupulous big brother, a lesson. It seemed that this bitter uncle was afraid of his sister. Yu Yang sneered coldly. That sinister sneer made everyone feel a chill down their spines. Feng Ji and Jin Yun, this pair of newlyweds, were so scared that they hugged each other, their bodies trembling. So scared. Sky Execution suddenly asked, "This thing is good for others, but what use is it for you?" Yu Yang raised his head and looked at the starry sky from a 45-degree angle. He replied in an arrogant tone, "Don't tell me that an exceptional genius like me, who changed the secret technique on my shadow and used it to explode with the destructive power of the runes, would announce to the world the great discovery of this ultimate technique. I can be very low-key." The demonic palace's people suddenly understood. Sigh, they almost forgot that this brat's first guardian beast was Phantom Shadow. If the shadow could also use this kind of secret technique, then it would really be... Ming Rihao roared, "This is infuriating. Do you dare to be even more perverted?" Chapter 944. Yu Yang's newly researched Meridian Explosion secret technique was not very useful for super experts like Ming Rihao, Sky Execution, and Dragon Emperor. They didn't have a Phantom Guardian Beast like Yu Yang that could turn into a special attack technique. Moreover, their battle techniques also determined their fighting style. Whether it was the super strong Ming Rihao or the rapidly improving Sky Execution and Dragon Emperor, they all used absolute strength to directly defeat their enemies. They rarely used sneak attacks like Yu Yang, or used special abilities to weaken their opponents and attack from all sides. They, who were more proficient in traditional battles, had always used their strength to break through techniques, using the strong to defeat the weak. They rarely used techniques like Yu Yang, using the weak to defeat the strong. They also rarely challenged those who were stronger than them. But Yu Yang was the opposite. In almost every big battle, Yu Yang would fight to the death with an enemy who was stronger than him, fighting until the end to challenge the stronger ones. Good stuff. This secret technique came out at the right time. However, not only the ruthless Sky Execution, the majestic Dragon Emperor, and even Ming Rihao were full of praise for this Meridian Explosion. The appearance of this special secret technique meant that the Eastern Goblin tribe, Demonic Palace, and other Tong Tian Tower warriors who were trying to break through to Heaven's stage had the greatest help. Because Sky Execution, Dragon Emperor, Emperor of the Underworld, and other super experts often came to the Heaven Realm to train. The Heaven Stage war beasts, treasures, magic crystals, ores, and herbs they brought back would benefit their relatives, friends, and subordinates. For example, the Demonic Palace. After Sky Wrath broke through to Heaven Stage, Sky Calamity and Sky Crime were also infinitely close to Heaven Stage. Although their real goal was to become an Elder Innate, Heaven Stage was their first step to become an Elder Innate. It was easy for Sky Calamity, Sky Crime, and Sky Fury to have a Heaven Stage beast. It was not difficult for them to reach Heaven Stage, but it was difficult for them to break through to Heaven Stage. Many Tong Tian Tower warriors indeed had the strength of Heaven Stage, but they had no hope of becoming an Elder Innate. Such people, in Heaven Realm, there were countless of them. Between a Heaven Stage martial artist and a Primordial Innate expert, there was actually an insurmountable gap of 5 levels. If they did not break through these gaps, then Heaven Stage martial artists would linger at the level of Heaven Stage for the rest of their lives, looking up at the innate sovereign pitifully. From the first level of Heaven Stage to the 5th level of Heaven Stage, the vast majority of Heaven Stage martial artists were stuck. These 5 levels would consume a Heaven Stage martial artist's entire life, and it would still be difficult to break through. But now, with this Meridian Explosion secret technique, at the very least, advancing from Heaven Rank 1 to Heaven Rank 3 was no longer a major obstacle. Kid, Old Hao, also owe you a favor. After Ming Ri Hao Ma memorized this secret cultivation method, he nodded gratefully towards Yang. With this meridian bursting secret technique, he believed that if he wanted to restore his family to its former glory, the time would be greatly reduced. Compared to Tong Tian Tower, 95% of the Heaven Stage warriors in the Heaven Realm were stuck in the first 3 floors. That was truly pitiful. Although Yu Yang's research on this had its own benefits, it was mainly for the Sky Execution's Demonic Palace, the Dragon Emperor's Easter Goblin tribe, and the younger generation of the Soaring Dragon continent to use. With it, Xuetan Lang, Prince of Tian Luo, Yi Kong, Fatty Hai, and the others would not have to bitterly look at the unreachable innate sovereign realm inside. With this meridian bursting secret technique, they could first advance to the 5th level of Heaven Stage, then comprehend the immovable will in the gate of life and death, and then combine them to finally break through to the innate sovereign realm. When Yu Yang returned to Tong Tian Tower with this booklet, Elder Nan Gong, the old fox, Jun Wu Yu, and Elder Yu Hai, who heard the news, were all shocked. Even the calmest Elder Nan Gong couldn't help but shed a tear on his notebook when he recorded this matter. He could completely understand what the appearance of this meridian-bursting secret technique meant to the warriors of Tong Tian Tower. A ladder to the heavens. This was not only a secret technique for Heaven Stage rankers to break through, even innate rankers, and even those who were below innate rankers could learn it. Before this, it was not that there were no warriors of Tong Tian Tower who had created outstanding secret techniques, but the secret techniques they created were only suitable for their own physiques or a few similar physiques to cultivate. For example, meridian bursting secret technique. Almost any race could cultivate it without any restrictions. Even if some special physiques could not cultivate it completely, they could still cultivate the unlimited secret technique. This was really the first book in history. What moved Elder Nan Gong the most was that Yu Yang had also developed similar, yet different cultivation methods according to the different characteristics of humans. Golden Elves, Eastern Goblin Tribe, Dragon Clan, Sea Clan, Beast Clan, Demon Clan, Netherworld Clan, and so on. It could be said that this was not only a set of cultivation, but also a system of cultivation. It could be put anywhere in Tong Tian Tower with different degrees of practicality. This was not only the rise of Tong Tian Tower's warriors, but also a pair of strong wings for Tong Tian Tower's warriors, helping them to soar. The birth of the Beast Bracelet and Meridian Bursting Secret Technique would completely break Tong Tian Tower out of the abyss of suffering and weakness. In time, Tong Tian Tower would definitely return to Heaven Realm, and Tong Tian Tower's warriors would definitely stand at the peak of Heaven Realm. Sinner, you did very well this time. Fourth Mother is very happy. However, you still have to contend with the enemy. Time is tight, so I won't keep you. Yeon took some time to go back to see Fourth Mother and the little girl. He even specially went to see His Majesty. His Majesty was actually quite happy, but he did not agree to Yu Yang's request. He only sent out a female official to reply. This secret technique is indeed a surprise, but don't forget to do proper business. Speaking of proper business, naturally, it was to attend the birthday banquet of the King of Still Wind Kingdom's beloved concubine, the Pearl Radiant Beauty. One must know that Tong Tian Tower and Ming Ri Hao were all waiting for Yu Yang to come back and make a big fuss. Only Yu Yang could go back and forth between Tong Tian Tower and Heaven Realm in one day and still have time to attend a birthday banquet. When he bid farewell to Fourth Mother and returned to Green Willow City, it was already afternoon. Manager Yi and class leader Jean, who came to pick him up, were like ants on a hot pan. The hotel's courtyard was almost flattened by them, but Yu Yang did not appear, so there was nothing they could do. Like Ming Ri Hao, Sky Execution, Dragon Emperor, and Emperor of the Underworld, they all went back to study the meridian bursting secret technique to see how it could be more suitable for their subordinates and clansmen. Zhongguan and the others laughed, saying that young Master Titan was taking a lunch break and did not dare to disturb him. Isn't the birthday banquet still early? Young Master slept very late last night and just happened to be taking a lunch break. I don't dare to disturb him. Zhongguan obviously knew that Yu Yang went back to Tong Tian Tower, but how could he tell the truth? I am my grandmother. Class leader Jean felt a toothache when he heard Zhongguan's reply. The birthday banquet has indeed not started yet, but young Master Titan is the most important guest, so how could we dare to slight him? If we can't invite young Master Titan, then I and class leader Jean will lose our heads. What Chief Manager Yi was worried about wasn't the time, but rather the fact that this young Master Titan had lost his temper. Young Master will definitely attend. Just in time, young Master has woken up. Zhongguan saw Yu Yang open the window in his room and immediately shouted, "My great young Master, you've finally woken up." Class leader Jean almost cried. Good, that's good. Chief Steward Ye's heart was also relieved. As long as young Master Tai Tan didn't lose his temper, it didn't matter how long he slept. Originally, they did not dare to rush him, but the King of Still Wind was anxious. Due to the news of the Divine Blood congratulatory gift, a spy had leaked the news, and 3 of the nearby kings had come uninvited to the Holy Land of Martialism. The 3 rulers who had scoffed at their beloved concubine's birthday banquet had actually come together and pretended to send gifts. Not to mention the King of Still Wind. Even a blind man or a fool would know that these 3 fellows did not come with good intentions. But as the host, what could the King of Still Wind do? Refuse guests? That was obviously impossible. His only way was to invite young Master Titan as soon as possible, so that the attention of the 3 rulers would be diverted to this wealthy young Master Titan. It would be best if these 3 fellows were excited by the prospect and plotted against young Master Titan. At that time, young Master Titan would be so angry that he would wipe out the 3 of them in one fell swoop. As for the drop of God's blood, the King of Still Wind swore that even if the Emperor of Divine Light came, he would not let it go. Young Master, it's like this. There are 3 rulers who have come with bad intentions. They are probably eyeing your treasure. The gift of God's blood might make some petty people jealous and take risks out of desperation. Young Master, you must be on your guard. Chief Steward Yi expressed that he had come on behalf of the King of Still Wind to warn Yu Yang. How dare they? Yu Yang, of course, pretended to be angry. Although young Master is of noble birth, there are always greedy madmen in the world. Chief Steward Yi was secretly delighted and desperately added fuel to the fire. I want to see who dares to covet my treasure. Yu Yang was like a rebellious young man. Once he heard that someone had come with bad intentions, not only did he not avoid it, but he decided to appear in a more high-profile manner and directly counterattack. Chief Steward Yi was overjoyed. This was the effect that the king of Still Wind wanted. If he did not provoke this young master's anger, perhaps the three fellows would secretly try to rope him in. If this anger was ignited, young Master Tai Tan would have bad feelings towards the three rulers. Then no matter what the other party did, young Master Tai Tan would definitely be on guard. Yu Yang, who had originally planned to attend the birthday banquet in a low-key manner, expressed to Chief Steward Yi and Class Leader Jean that he had decided to attend in a high-profile manner to intimidate the petty people. Chief Steward Yi and Class Leader Jean flattered him. They also respectfully offered the 1,000-star ring and dragon-swallowing pearl that the king of Still Wind Kingdom had gifted to him. Young master, the king's meager gift yesterday was not enough to show his respect, but it was sincere. Yesterday, young master left in a hurry and did not have the time to accept it. Today, no matter what, please accept it. The king said that if young master does not accept it, the useless old servant and class leader Jean will not be able to return. Yu Yang pretended to not care and nodded. Since it is the king's kind intentions, then I will accept it. But what should I use to return the gift? Chief Steward Yi hurriedly stopped him. If he waited for this young master to choose his gift, then it would be dark. It was better to wait until the king's mansion's birthday banquet was held and then choose. He believed that the king would also be willing to see the kind of unparalleled glory that no one else had. Young Master Tai Tan has arrived. Class leader Jean used the fastest speed he had his life to run back to the king's mansion to report. Actually, there were other personal guards fighting to do this job, but he decided to do it himself. One must know that this was also a kind of glory. Quickly invite him in. The king of Still Wind Kingdom was currently chatting with the three uninvited friends and enemies. He was feeling annoyed and immediately jumped up when he heard this. Brother Still Wind, there's an esteemed guest at our door. Why don't you introduce him to us? The three fellows looked at each other and immediately stood up, requesting to welcome him together. Looking at their expressions, even if the king of Still Wind Kingdom stopped them, they would still forcefully go. The king of Still Wind Kingdom cursed in his heart, but on the surface he still showed the demeanor that a master should have, smiling and indicating that they should go together. From afar, he saw a group of people, like stars surrounding the moon. They accompanied a handsome, godlike young man who came from afar. There were two beasts on each side of the young man. One of them was a dark pet that seemed to be of the canine family. It was hard to tell whether the pet was strong or weak. The pet was accompanying its master in a lazy manner. It was chewing a bone slowly, drooling. The three kings glanced over the pet. They completely ignored it as a pet. However, on the other side of the pet was an extremely vicious and murderous primordial monster, which made the corners of their eyes twitch. Heavens, that monster was actually an earth god weapon. There were probably very few earth god weapons like this in the upper realm. To be honest, they had never seen an earth god weapon that could be this powerful and psychic. What was the identity of this young Master Tai Tan? Even in the upper realm, how could a disciple of an ordinary family have such a psychic earth god weapon? The information was right. Young Master Tai Tan, who had an earth god weapon, undoubtedly had God's blood. Ji Feng, this guy, absolutely hit the jackpot to actually welcome such a distinguished guest. The three uninvited kings looked at each other and saw a kind of palpitating shock in each other's eyes. Look, that guy. One of the kings snorted coldly, causing the other two to shift their greedy eyes away from Tao Tai and turn to look at Sky Execution, who was standing behind Yu Yang. The two's expressions immediately changed. At the same time, they thought of the man mentioned in the top secret information, Sky Execution. If there was no Sky Execution, even with the protection of the Earth God weapon, they would dare to try to snatch it. One had to know that with God's blood, they would have everything. Even if they had to sacrifice an entire country, they would have to get God's blood. They could not be a king, but if they did not snatch God's blood, there would be no more regrets. However, with this Sky Execution, it was probably impossible to snatch God's blood. What was even more unfortunate was that there were two faintly discernible men beside Sky Execution. Their strength was only slightly inferior, but to defeat them and kidnap that young Master Titan, it would probably be difficult to ascend to heaven. The King of Still Wind saw the expressions of the three. He sneered in his heart. How could a heaven-ranked upper realms disciple be someone that three monarch-ranked martial artists could lay their eyes on? Even if the Domain Emperor came, he would most likely return disappointed. Just as he was about to lead the crowd to welcome them, suddenly, a golden light flashed in the eastern and western skies at the same time. Two extremely powerful heaven-ranked martial artists, almost at the same time, streaked across the sky and headed straight for the king's residence in Green Willow City. Just as the King of Still Wind and Yu Yang met, they arrived at the same time. Seeing these two people, even the King of Still Wind, who was originally calm and composed, had a huge change in expression. He uncontrollably exclaimed, "Ah, it's actually..." Chapter 945. Even if the Emperor of the Divine Light region were to come, the Lord of the Still Wind Kingdom would not have lost his composure like this. However, the appearance of these two people shocked everyone present. These two people had appeared out of nowhere. With a golden light, like two blazing suns, they descended with a loud rumble, smashing into the door of the Lord's residence with an unstoppable force, crushing the obsidian floor to pieces. Their huge bodies towered like mountains, blocking between the two groups of people behind Yu Yang and the Lord of the Still Wind Kingdom. Their aura swallowed the world, and their momentum was like thunder. Once they appeared, they shook the heavens and the earth. It was not only the Lord of the Still Wind Kingdom who was shocked. All the martial artists present who knew these two people had their mouths wide open, their jaws dropping to the ground, their eyes filled with disbelief and shock. The three uninvited monarchs, seeing the strange expression on the Lord of the Still Wind Kingdom's face, also looked away from Sky's punishment. Their gazes shifted to these two people. The two people's bodies were extremely strong and stalwart. They were 5 meters tall, with thick necks, broad shoulders, and a tiger's back and a bear's waist. Any one of them was twice the same height as others. Burly and sturdy was not enough to describe their strength. Their dark muscles were like iron and steel, bulging and full of explosive power. No one doubted that these two people could easily flatten a mountain if they joined forces. As long as they were given a shoulder, it was as if they could carry the sky. As long as they were given a handle, it was as if they could even pull up the earth. What puzzled the three uninvited monarchs was that there was a faint draconic aura coming from these two people who were comparable to barbaric bulls. It was like a domain force field, but it also seemed like an innate ability formlessly suppressing the surroundings. If this energy was probed deeper, one could clearly sense that within these two people, there was a violent energy like an active volcano, as if it would explode if it did not erupt. They are among the three monarchs, Green Wolf, whose green eyes were like those of Savage Wolf, with boundless killing intent and full of cunning, asked the Lord of the Still Wind Kingdom tentatively. They, were only heaven stage level 1 a day ago. The Lord of the Still Wind Kingdom's face regained its composure, but when he spoke, there was still a trace of bitterness. He naturally understood what had happened. Young Master Titan, ever since young Master Titan took these two fools away, the two originally insignificant barbarian bull brothers had actually advanced to heaven rank level 4 after a day of meeting. Advancing 3 ranks in a day. This wasn't the most frightening thing. What was even more frightening was that it looked like these two guys would continue to advance. Advancing to heaven rank 5 was only a matter of time. What? The Lord of the Still Wind Kingdom's reply caused the other 3 kingdom lords to turn pale. Within a day, he had advanced by 3 levels? This was not earth rank, but heaven rank. How could this be? If not for the previous incident of the god's blood as a congratulatory gift, Qing Lang and the other 2 rulers would definitely not believe it. However, when they looked at the expressions of the king of the Still Wind Kingdom and the people around them, it did not seem like it was fake. Furthermore, the god's blood as a congratulatory gift had also happened, so they temporarily believed it with some doubts. The Azure Wolf Emperor anxiously asked, Is it because you've fused with the divine blood? However, the Lord of the Still Wind Kingdom shook his head. No, it's not God's blood. But how could young Master Tai Tan be a treasure like the divine blood, Sai? A black-clothed and high-crowned kingdom lord, Wan Jiao, with deep eyes, hooked nose, and a sinister appearance, who seemed to be hiding a belly full of evil tricks, immediately saw through it. He said with certainty, it's because they fused with an extremely pure ancient dragon's blood. These two people's potential was originally not bad. Someone used a secret technique, an ancient dragon's blood, to release their enormous potential. It's like two imprisoned monsters were cut off by someone, opened the prison door, and directly released. The third kingdom lord Lu Luo, who had an ordinary appearance but eyes that were as sharp as a blade, made people feel as if they were being cut by a sword. He slowly nodded, agreeing with his comrade Wan Jiao's words. At this moment, in the hearts of Qing Lang, Wan Jiao, and Lu Luo, other than shock, there was also a kind of powerlessness and sour jealousy. Even as a kingdom lord, they had never enjoyed such treatment before. To consecutively advance by 3 ranks in a day, what kind of luck was this? What kind of achievement was this? In the entire heaven realm, there were not many people as lucky as these two brothers in front of them. Manager Yi and class leader Jean were still fine. Hu Lei and the rest of the heaven rankers simply wanted to cry, but had no tears. They wanted to find a tree branch and hang themselves. Damn it, these two retarded idiots had nothing. They really didn't know what kind of good karma they had accumulated in their previous lives for young Master Tai tend to take a liking to them. If the person he took a liking to was him, if the ancient dragon's blood was used on him, then how good would that be? You guys, who is the kingdom lord of Still Wind, come out for us brothers. Now, not only have our strength greatly improved, we also have this set of golden battle armor. All of you can come at me together, lest you say that we bullied you. Big Brother Barbarian Bull posed for a long time and felt very good about himself. He proudly raised his fist together with his younger brother. They made an offensive and defensive pose and loudly invited them to fight. We will use our fists to beat all of you until you piss in your pants. Second Brother Barbarian Bull's god power that affected his personality was removed by Yu Yang, and he immediately became a violent person. You two idiots. Ming Rihao couldn't hold it in anymore. He walked forward angrily and punched the two idiots to the ground. What was this? According to Yu Yang's plan, these two idiots should have stayed outside the city and waited for the signal. They should have waited until the most exciting battle erupted at night before they made a grand appearance and launched a surprise attack, completely messing up the kingdom lord arrangements. Who knew that before Yu Yang and his group had even reached the city lord's mansion, these two hopeless fools had already rushed over in a hurry. Yu Yang had already expected that these two idiots wouldn't be able to wait, so he didn't force them to listen to orders like normal people. In any case, there were mistakes to be made, so he just had to adapt to the situation. Although he didn't expect the two idiots to run out so quickly and cause such a sensation, what was the big deal about it? To the person who truly grasped the entire situation, wasn't it just a matter of a few words? Yu Yang smiled. His smile was as bright as the sun. He walked forward and patted the Barbarian Bull brother's shoulders. I thought you two would sleep for 3 days. I didn't expect you two to wake up so quickly. Good, your fusion is perfect. However, although your strength has increased, you two are still not used to it. You two haven't even gotten used to such a powerful strength. Just now when you flew over, you two almost crashed into each other. From now on, you two have to train properly. Otherwise, it's useless to have a body full of strength without any battle techniques. The Barbarian Bull brothers didn't submit to anyone, but they were completely subservient to Yu Yang. They were criticized. The two idiots scratched the back of their heads and giggled foolishly. Yu Yang asked them to stand up, then pointed at the city lord's residence. If you two want to fight, you can't fight on an empty stomach, right? If you two have a grudge against the kingdom lord, why don't you go to his house first and eat your fill before fighting? There are all kinds of delicacies, countless food, and wine inside. Why don't you eat to your heart's content? Wouldn't that be even more profitable? Hearing this, the two barbarian bull brothers slapped their foreheads. Ayaya, they really didn't think that there would be such benefits. Fighting was for sure, but they couldn't fight on an empty stomach. Otherwise, it would be too much of a loss. Boss Barbarian Bull was afraid that the Kingdom Lord wouldn't entertain him, so he immediately shouted, "Us brothers and Brother Titan want to go in and eat our fill. If any of you dare to stop us, we will use our fist to smash your country Lord's residence into pieces." Second Brother Barbarian Bull grabbed Leader Jin's collar with his huge hands. "Bring the food out immediately." Manager Yi hurriedly led the way. Together with Leader Jin and the others, they brought these two idiots whose brains were also muscles to fill their stomachs. There was plenty of food in the country lord's residence. It was even possible for the barbarian bull brothers to be stuffed to death. With young Master Titan's words, how could these two barbarian bulls have the time to fight today? If it didn't get drunk in the country lord's residence, then Leader Jin wouldn't be called Leader Jin anymore. He would be called Jin Wuneng. Summoned Thunder and the other heaven rankers, who were originally drooling with envy and their eyes red with jealousy, saw this, and their resentment dissipated a bit. Although these two barbarian bulls' strength had increased to heaven stage level 4, their intelligence did not increase at all. Fortunately, he was still an idiot. Getting angry with these two stupid fellows, forget it. Summoned Thunder and the others let go of the resentment in their hearts and decided to find an opportunity to curry favor with young Master Titan. As long as this young master took a fancy to them with their intelligence, how could their future growth be inferior to these two barbarian bulls? Different from heaven rankers like Summoned Thunder and the others, higher-ranked experts like Ji Feng, Qing Lang, and the others who were at the king level. Their views were different. Young Master Titan casually said a few words to settle the barbarian bull brothers. It seemed simple, but in reality, this was something that Ji Feng, Qing Lang, Wan Jiao, and Lu Luo, the 4 king-level experts, could not do. Even if their identities were changed, it would be extremely difficult to do this. They sighed inwardly. Their hearts were shaken. Could this be the bearing of a successor nurtured by a noble family in the heaven realm? As expected, it far surpassed everything. With such charisma, let alone a king-level expert, even a domain emperor-level expert would not be able to do better, right? How old was this young Master Titan? When he truly grew up, how powerful would he be? Previously, Ji Feng, Qing Lang, and the others were respectful because of young Master Titan's identity. But now, there was an additional sense of awe after the shock. In terms of charisma, even their king-level experts could not compare. Qing Lang, Wan Jiao, and Lu Luo looked at each other and nodded. They walked out of the crowd and greeted. Young Master Titan has descended to the lower realm. We have failed to welcome you from afar. Please forgive us for our impoliteness. The king of Stillwind Kingdom was so angry that his nose almost popped out. He cursed in his heart. F***CK. Why are you pretending to be the landlord? This is my territory. It's none of your business. Of course, he could not say this on the surface. On the contrary, he tried his best to suppress his anger and put on a smile, acting like he was the real master. Brother Titan, come. Ji Feng will introduce you to a few friends. This is Qing Lang, the owner of the Howling Moon Forest. This is Wan Jiao, the owner of the Chongling Ridge. And this is Lu Luo, the neighbor that Ji Feng has been in contact with the most recently. When the three of them heard that such a distinguished guest like Brother Titan has arrived, they did not care about being impolite and came from thousands of miles away to witness the splendor of the upper realm's prestigious houses. His words implied that the other party was a neighbor, a friend, who came from thousands of miles away to greet him like a country bumpkin entering a city to see the world. Qing Lang and the other two were secretly fuming with anger. F***CKU. I'm a country bumpkin. You're just like me. How much better can you be? The upper realm's prestigious houses are the other party, not you. Didn't you also greet them with a smile like a familiar dog? If you're so capable, why don't you put on airs and refuse guests? If it was a normal day, he would definitely fall out with them. However, he pretended that he did not hear the hidden meaning behind Qing Lang's words. He even laughed out loud and nodded his head in agreement. In any case, it was shamelessness versus shamelessness. Everyone was the same. Nobody should laugh at each other. Ming Rihao tried his best to hold back his laughter as he pretended to be a normal heaven ranker. Now, he felt that it was very fun to work together with Yu Yang. If it was a normal day, how could there be such an exciting situation to watch? At first, he thought that Yu Yang's plan was too exaggerated and could be easily seen through. Or would the bait of the god's blood fail? Now, it seemed like they would definitely fall into the trap. Moreover, it was not only the king of Still Wind Kingdom, the king of Green Wolf Kingdom, and the others. Perhaps those who were hiding in the dark would also fall into this young Master Titan's whirlpool trap. In the end, how many big fishes could this drop of God's blood catch? Now, the show had only just begun. When a most exciting moment of the night came, it would definitely be a great harvest. Lady Pearllight has arrived. As tonight's birthday girl, the Pearllight beauty who had dispelled most of her worries decided to personally welcome the distinguished guest, young Master Titan. Such a prestigious house in the upper realm was definitely a once-in-a-thousand-years encounter. If they could form a relationship with him, they would probably wake up smiling even in their dreams. Yu Yang let the king of Still Wind Kingdom and the others surround him like the stars surrounding the moon. As the crowd on both sides parted, he looked at the lady who was walking leisurely from afar. Ming Rihao, who was 10 meters tall and could see far, took a look. His eyes immediately flashed with a bright light. He clenched his fists tightly. Chapter 946. Yu Yang seemed to have sensed something and turned his head. Ming Rihao was no longer behind him. Unknowingly, he had run over to the Bull brothers and started eating and drinking together. At this time, the hostess of the birthday banquet leisurely walked over. Her every step was like a lotus. Standing behind Yang were Zhongguan, He Tu, Bai Ma, Fei Huang, Hua Ban, and the other heaven rankers. When they saw her, their eyes were filled with amazement. The two newly joined quasi-heaven rankers, Feng Ji and Jin Yun, who were slightly weaker in strength and determination, were even more captivated. That was a beauty whose beauty was comparable to the stars in the sky. Accompanied by many beautiful maids, she slowly walked out of the king's residence. Her beautiful figure and elegant posture made people feel that having her was like having the whole world. It was as if she was the best treasure in the world. Having her, one would have no regrets in life. There were countless experts present. Their composure was stronger than steel. Even if the mountains collapsed and the earth cracked, they would not be moved. But when they saw this woman, they were all dumbfounded. The heaven rankers who originally had their own schemes for the first time focused their attention on this woman. This beauty's dressing, gorgeous and dazzling. Her beautiful hair was like a golden waterfall flowing down. It was bright and dazzling, emitting waves of golden waves in her hair ornament. Her hair ornament was simple and just right. It was just a circle of Yingluo, protecting the smooth and neat hair in front of her forehead. At the very center was a pearl. It was enormous and radiant with rainbow colors, sparkling brilliantly. Under that incomparably precious pearl was a face so perfect that it was suffocating. The beautiful eyes on it were sparkling like the bright stars in the blue sky when the sun was about to rise. Below, it was a delicate and handsome nose, 2 red lips that were like dewy flower petals. Before she spoke, she was already smiling. This contrasted with her beautiful face, making her look bright and dazzling. No one would not fall for her. What was especially noticeable and pleasantly surprising was that there were 2 intoxicating dimples on this beauty's jade-like cheeks. The smile that could cause the downfall of nations and cities overflowed with a scorching heat that could burn one's soul. She had yet to arrive. Her peerless beauty had given her everything. Seeing such a beauty, the originally deceitful heaven rankers all put down their disputes and looked at her greedily. Only when they saw her did they understand what it meant to be a beauty that could topple a nation. If he could embrace such a flawless beauty, Wouldn't that be the dream of every super expert? Sky Execution was slightly moved and looked at Yu Yang. Not only him, but also the Dragon Emperor and the Underworld Emperor. She was also worried that this little pervert, who had zero defense against beautiful women, would lose his composure on the spot. Yu Yang secretly put his hands behind his back and gave the three fellows who were worrying needlessly a middle finger, giving them a super disdainful counterattack. Although this young master likes beautiful women, it also depends on the situation. Moreover, there was a rouge tiger bearing its fangs and brandishing its claws in the grimoire world. Who would dare to cheat on her? There were songs to be sung, but it was better not to pick the wildflowers by the roadside. Furthermore, this wildflower had poisonous thorns. Whoever picked it would be unlucky. Do I look like the kind of fool who would drool at the sight of a beautiful woman and whose brain would instantly turn to mush? Yu Yang made a protruding gesture with his hands. When Sky Execution, the Dragon Emperor, and the Emperor of the Underworld saw this, they immediately calmed down. Fortunately, this brat didn't turn into a big pervert just because he saw a beautiful woman. This humble girl from the lower realm greets young Master Titan and the three uncles. The pearl radiant beauty led the other beautiful maids to kneel on the ground. That lovely voice and frail body made people feel an infinite amount of love and tenderness. The three kings couldn't wait to personally help the beauty up. Of course, even if they wanted to, the Still Wind King would not allow them to do so. Furthermore, he was still a king, so he still had some self-control. Quickly get up. We have long admired Madam's beautiful name. Today, we came unhurriedly. We didn't think that it was Madam's birthday banquet, so we didn't have time to present a generous gift. We're truly ashamed. The Green Wolf King hurriedly apologized. Actually, the three kings had long heard of the Pearl Radiant Beauty's name, but they never thought that this woman was actually this beautiful. She had completely surpassed the beauty standards of all races. This. Are you Madame Pearl Radiant Beauty? You look really good. You look about the same as my fiancé. Cough, cough, it's really rare. Yu Yang displayed a perverted look at this moment. However, what made the Still Wind King feel both regretful and happy was that this young Master Titan was undoubtedly a normal man. He also felt that his beloved concubine was extremely beautiful, but he was still able to maintain his rationality. He even thought of his fiancée all the time. From this, it could be seen that this young Master Titan from the Heaven Realm had a fiancée that was at least as beautiful as his beloved concubine. Perhaps even more beautiful. Otherwise, this young Master Titan wouldn't have regained his rationality so quickly. Thinking back to the two female slaves that were gifted to him previously, it was very reasonable for him to reject them immediately. With a fiancé that was unparalleled in the world and a descendant of a noble family, he naturally wouldn't be interested in beautiful female slaves that were a level lower than him. The Still Wind King was very at ease with the young Master Titan now, but he was secretly on guard against Qing Lang, Wan Jiao, and Lu Luo. Although these three guys loved power, they wouldn't reject any beauty. Who knows, they might even plot to steal his beloved concubine one day, so he had to be careful. The Still Wind King, who was feeling complicated, felt a little regretful. The young Master Titan's rationality was beyond his expectations. This proved that he also had a beauty that was on the same level or even better than his beloved concubine. From this, it could be seen that he wasn't the only one who had the most beautiful woman in the world. Wasn't this a little? Esteemed guests have arrived. How can Still Wind King be so rude? Brother Titan, please. Kings Qing Lang, Wan Jiao, and Lu Luo, please come in and have a cup of wine with us. The Still Wind King held the small hand of his beloved concubine, the pearl-like beauty, to show that this woman belonged to him. Under the jealous gazes of Qing Lang and the others, he felt an incomparable sense of accomplishment. He first invited Yu Yang, the most esteemed guest from the higher heaven realm, into the mansion, then invited Qing Lang and the others into the banquet. If he could, he really wanted to send Qing Lang and the others flying with a kick. However, that could only be thought of in his heart and was impossible to actually do. On the surface, he naturally pretended to be generous and courteous, displaying the heroic spirit of a generous host. Although the pearl-like beauty respectfully welcomed the guests on the surface, she was secretly sizing up Yu Yang. From her point of view, Qing Lang and the other two kings could all be seen through. No matter how powerful they were, there was still a limit. However, this young Master Titan, who casually congratulated them with God's blood, was an inestimable existence. If young Master Titan was really a guest from the higher heaven realm, a rich man who could squander money like water and casually take out God's blood to congratulate them, then everything would be perfect. However, she was afraid that he was not a young master who came to travel to the lower world, but came with other intentions. In the Tianhua domain, it was a mess. Other than the three region emperors who had been fighting for thousands of years, the most important thing was the news of the divine grimoire and various legendary secret treasures of the gods. Perhaps the real purpose of this young Master Titan was for the divine grimoire, or those legendary secret treasures of the gods. Let's not talk about the divine grimoire for the time being. This was an existence that the central shrine had been plotting for thousands of years without success. However, the incomplete godhood and the various secret treasures of the gods were the bait that countless super experts secretly coveted. Young Master's fiancée must be a peerless beauty. The pearl-like beauty is ugly. I dare not compare to her. On the way into the mansion, the pearl-like beauty whispered to the king of Still Wind Kingdom, testing this young Master Titan, whose strength could not be seen clearly, but definitely could not be underestimated. Our family's tigress, needless to say, definitely. Cough, you are also not bad looking, but our family's tigress is different from you. Her beauty is not just in appearance. This, it is hard to say. It should be said that each has their own beauty. Yu Yang put on an expression of, I am a henpecked man, please don't tempt me, causing the pearl-like beauty to laugh heartily. Her jade-like lips relaxed, revealing her neat and small teeth, extremely sexy and alluring. Wishing Pearl, quasi-divine weapon. Sky Execution humph behind Yu Yang. Your Excellency is knowledgeable. The people of the lower world admire you. Hearing this, the pearl-like beauty's expression changed slightly, but she recovered in an instant and bowed to Sky Execution. When she turned around, she felt her heart palpitate. She originally thought that no one could see the origin of the pearl on her forehead. She did not expect that this Sky Execution, who was in charge of protecting the young Master Titan, could see through it at a glance. Only now, in the pearl-like beauty's heart, did true reverence for the aristocrats of the upper world rise. As it turned out, compared to the aristocrats of the upper world, the people of the lower world were really country bumpkins. Fortunately, she did not seduce this young Master Titan. Otherwise, she would have been directly killed by this cold and emotionless Sky Execution. Could it be that this Sky Execution was sent by the young Master Titan's fiancée? Even someone like Sky Execution could be ordered around, who was the mysterious fiancée of the young Master Titan. However, since it was related to the tiger, it was obvious that she was not a female rancor that she knew. It was probably different from what she had expected. If it was like this, it would be safer. The pearl-like beauty heaved a sigh of relief in her heart and revealed a smile. With the attitude of a host, she held hands with the king of Still Wind Kingdom, welcoming the guests into the king's mansion with great affection and intimacy. Although Qing Lang, Wan Jiao, and Lu Luo pretended not to care, they still looked at the pearl-like beauty's face and figure from time to time. They even secretly hated her for letting the king of Still Wind Kingdom hold her hands. If not for the presence of the esteemed guests like the young Master Titan, Qing Lang and the other two would have already started fighting. If not for the god's blood, this pearl-like beauty would have already snatched it. When the king of Still Wind Kingdom saw this, he secretly sneered. You can't make a move now. When the birthday banquet is over, this king will bring the beauty to the most secluded secret residence, swallow the fused god's blood, and come out only after his strength has greatly increased. At that time, not only will you not be able to do anything to this king, but it is even possible that this king will flatten your lands. If today's birthday banquet also pulls in a strong helper like the young Master Titan, Qing Lang, and the other two will only be 3 ants, they can completely ignore you. Everyone sat down and raised their cups amidst the singing and dancing. After 3 rounds of wine, the king of Green Wolf Kingdom suddenly stood up. Chapter 9:47. Since young Master Tai Tan is interested in sightseeing in the lower realm and coming to Tianhua domain, do you have a purpose? Qing Lang and his companions looked at each other and decided to probe. No, but Dugu Changfeng invited me to White River City, so I'll probably go there later to take a look. If the Lord of Qing Lang Kingdom has a good introduction, Tai Tan is interested in all kinds of mysteries, so I'd like to see it. Qing Lang would definitely not believe Yu Yang's words. But now that he said it, they believe that this young master was invited and did not know the real situation in Tianhua domain. Dugu Changfeng, is it young Master Changfeng of the Heaven Realm's 4 great clans? The Lord of Lu Luo Kingdom asked uncertainly. Has the Lord of Lu Luo seen him before? Yu Yang pretended to be surprised and asked. No, but there seemed to be a distinguished guest of the 4 great clans at the Divine Light Regent Emperor's place. I wonder if it was young Master Changfeng. The Lord of Lu Luo Kingdom mainly wanted to find out Yu Yang's identity through these. That damn snake hair man, it's most likely him. Other than him, there are very few people in the 4 great clans who would run around like idiots. White River City is far from here, and there are no teleportation portals. I wonder if there are any special scenic spots nearby. Otherwise, it would be so boring to sit on the airship and fly slowly every day. Yu Yang's words made Qing Lang and the other 2 secretly happy. We can't ruin a birthday banquet. It would be good to think of a way to lure this young Master Tai Tan away. Although a drop of God's blood was good, this young Master Tai Tan had more than one. If he was happy, he might leak out some treasures, which would benefit him for the rest of his life. Other things aside, as long as he could get close to the upper realm's aristocrats, that would be the biggest gain. If this young Master Tai Tan did not like it, then there was no problem as long as he liked it. How can the scenery in the lower world compare to that of the upper world? However, there are some places in the Tianhua domain that are barely presentable. If you're looking for treasures and secrets, young Master Titan might be able to make a trip to the Still Wind Swamp. It's said that there are remains of deities there. Of course, that is a legend from 10,000 years ago and has never been proven. If young Master Titan is interested, Blue Wolf is willing to accompany young Master Titan there. We can both enjoy the scenery and explore its secrets. After that, it won't be too late to head to White River City. Blue Wolf's words were too much, nearly causing the Still Wind Monarch to turn hostile on the spot. F***CKU. Is there a customer like you? Robbing the host's honored guest in front of everyone? You can be shameless, but you can't be shameless to this extent. What do you think this is? This is my turf. The Lord of the Still Wind Kingdom was truly enraged. He nearly slammed the table and stood up. The Azure Wolf Emperor is very interested, but when it comes to Windless Swamp, how could anyone be more familiar with it than my master? The pearl-glowing beauty pressed her hand lightly, indicating for the Still Wind Monarch not to get angry. If he wanted to play tricks, as the host, he had the advantage. Ha ha. Yes, the Windless Swamp is under my jurisdiction. If Brother Titan is interested in sightseeing, how would I dare not accompany you? Wouldn't that make it seem like I am not a good host and neglecting an honored guest? On the other hand, the Azure Wolf Emperor, I heard that this territory is not peaceful due to the chaos of war. I didn't expect you to be so playful. How rare. The Still Wind Monarch was in a good mood because of the pearl-glowing beauty's counterattack. He laughed heartily and nodded at Yu Yang. I grew up here and am most familiar with the Windless Swamp. Even the Divine Light Domain Emperor bestowed me with the title Wind when he conferred the title. If a divine body really appears in the Windless Swamp, I, as the host, will not be stingy with the treasures and share them with Brother Titan. Actually, it's not important whether a divine body exists or not. It's enough to see the unique scenery everywhere. Yu Yang expressed that he didn't believe that there would be a divine body here. Not only him, but the Still Wind Monarch and the others also didn't believe it. What a joke. If there really was, those fellows in the central shrine who were smarter than Dog Stinky would have already turned the place upside down. But the windless swamp was indeed full of strange phenomena. Like a mystery. That was the truth. After the birthday banquet, I will accompany Brother Titan to enjoy the surrounding scenery. The Still Wind Monarch made a promise as the host. We are also willing to go with you. Qing Lang and the other two naturally didn't want to be at a disadvantage. We are naturally more than welcome to accompany you on the journey. Yu Yang adopted the demeanor of a descendant of a famous family and responded appropriately. But in the face of Qing Lang, Wan Jiao, and Lu Luo's almost irreconcilable request, his face showed a slightly troubled expression, as if he couldn't refuse. In the end, he reluctantly nodded and agreed, which made the Still Wind Monarch secretly regretful. The birthday banquet gradually reached its climax in the midst of toasting. The Pearl Beauty, who received the blessings of the city lords, heaven rankers, and countless servants, was very excited. She even danced in front of everyone. Amidst the beautiful music, she danced gracefully, as if she would fly away with the wind at any time. It was truly breathtaking. When Qing Lang and the other two saw this, the desire in the depths of their eyes became even stronger. They looked at each other and nodded slightly, as if they were planning something. The king of Still Wind Kingdom saw this and was secretly vigilant. His most trusted personal guard captain, Yu Chao, who had the strength of heaven rank level 4 and was unwilling to lead the army as a commander, was willing to be loyal and devoted as the personal guard captain of Still Wind Kingdom. He personally led 18 generals with the strength of heaven rank and dozens of quasi-heaven rank city lords to stand guard in front of the Hall of God's Blood. A few lords who rushed over all came forward to congratulate the Still Wind Monarch and show their respect to young Master Titan. This was still during the war, otherwise there would be more lords. Some of the lords were strong, but unfortunately, with Qing Lang, Wan Jiao, and Lu Luo in front of them, they were destined to not have the chance to shine. These lords obediently went down to eat, drink, and play on their own, giving up the fight for the drop of divine blood. Master, young Master Titan is here to celebrate the God's blood. Why don't you come out and show it to all the distinguished guests to show Master's supreme glory? The pearl-glowing beauty said with a sweet smile. She was slightly sweating after the dance. As long as the God's blood was brought out and passed to the Still Wind Monarch by young Master Titan's hand, it would be the climax of the entire birthday banquet. At that time, the long-rehearsed celebration by the servants would begin. You're exaggerating. It's just a meager congratulatory gift. Yu Yang's face showed a proud expression of, I love being praised and praised the most. Hurry up and express your thanks to me. The superiority of a disciple of a famous family was born spontaneously. No matter how humble he was completely different from the others. Brother Titan's gift, if I don't express my thanks, I'm afraid the whole world will laugh at Still Wind Monarch for being rude. The Still Wind Monarch saw that Yu Yang wanted to see the cheers, and then looked at Sky Execution with an unchanging expression. He felt that this drop of God's blood would definitely fall into his pocket. Not to mention that young Master Titan insisted on giving it. Sky Execution also had no objections. Most importantly, if Qing Lang, Wan Jiao, and Lu Luo dared to have any designs on a person with a high status like young Master Titan, they would not be forgiven. With Sky Execution, young Master Titan, Long Xian, and Ming Feng present, whoever dared to snatch the God's blood on the spot would be slapping their face on the spot. It would be a provocation to their heaven realm. This was something the arrogant heaven realm would definitely not allow. With Sky Execution and the other two here, no matter how wild Qing Lang and the others were, how would they dare to have designs on the God's blood? The Still Wind Monarch stood up and personally came to Yu Yang's side. He was prepared to receive the God's blood, and the pearl-glowing beauty also stood behind the Still Wind Monarch, showing a respectful expression. Qing Lang and the others showed jealousy in their eyes, but there was nothing they could do. Just sky execution alone was enough of a headache, and there was only one drop of God's blood. Who would be willing to intercept sky execution, Long Xian, and Ming Feng, these three powerful enemies, and let their companions snatch the God's blood? Moreover, Zhi Feng's own strength could not be underestimated. If Yu Chao tried his best to stop him, then he might still be trapped in this Green Willow Country King's residence. Although they were indignant, Qing Lang, Wan Jiao, and Lu Luo still stood up, smiled, and clapped their hands in congratulations, showing that they were very happy to see such a grand event. Because Chief Steward Yi knew young Master Titan, he was fortunate enough to receive the position of holding the God's blood in his hands. He was so excited that his whole body was trembling. Accompanied by the personal guard Captain Yu Chao, he first bowed slightly to the gifts and treasures presented by the various heaven rankers, then gave a deep salute to the jade bottle containing the God's blood. After counting to 3, he calmed his breathing and finally used his slightly trembling hands to hold up the precious gift that had never been there before. Although the God's blood was light, and there was a treasure golden box to isolate the energy, he still felt that it was heavy, as if he was holding a mountain in his hands. From the innermost part of the hall to young Master Titan's side, it was only a short distance, a distance of 12 meters. Chief Steward Yi felt that this was the longest journey he had ever walked in his life. Of course, if it was possible, he could walk like this for the rest of his life and never get tired of it. But this was obviously impossible. When he reached young Master Titan's side, Chief Steward Ye's steps became even more steady. He was prepared to use the most respectful posture to worship this distinguished guest from the upper realm, and then hand the God's blood into the hands of this generous young master, who would officially gift it to the king of Still Wind Kingdom, completing the climax of the entire birthday banquet. Closer, closer. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, Chief Steward Yi forcibly suppressed his breathing and heartbeat. He put on the calmest expression in his life, walked with his head held high, and walked towards young Master Titan, performing all the etiquette of a steward. "How dare you!" Sky Execution suddenly roared angrily. There seemed to be a wave of ripples in the space, as if there was a transparent shadow that slid in from outside the hall, instantly reaching into the hall and pouncing towards Chief Steward Yi, who was holding the God's blood. Just when the transparent shadow's hand was about to touch the golden box in Chief Steward Ye's hands, Chief Steward Yi still did not notice. However, Green Wolf and the other heaven rankers saw that the two hidden dragons Xian and Ming Feng, who were only casually mentioned by young Master Titan, had already flashed out and angrily punched the back of the transparent shadow. The moment the transparent shadow was punched, the Dragon Emperor and Ming Feng had already pressed the transparent shadow to the ground. Want to steal the God's blood under the watchful eyes of the crowd? Don't you know what kind of place this is? However, just as the thief was caught, another unforeseen event occurred on the other side. Chapter 948. Where the transparent thief was taken down. All the heaven rankers had a twisted sense of, if I can't get it, then no one can get it. However, while they were secretly laughing at the transparent shadow, they were also shocked. The strength of Long Xian and Ming Feng was probably not below that of the god of death, Sky Execution. Green Wolf, Wan Jiao, and Lu Luo secretly frowned. With the strength of Long Xian and Ming Feng, they felt that even if they could win, it would be quite strenuous, and they might even pay the price of serious injuries. It was already so strenuous to fight 1 against 1. What if it was 1 against 2, 1 against 3? It was simply impossible to win, especially that terrifying Sky Execution, whose true strength was most likely not inferior to any of the monarch-level powerhouses present. The Lord of Still Wind Kingdom knew that the god's blood could not be lost, so he was not in a hurry to stop them. Instead, he protected young Master Titan at the first instant. What a joke, compared to the god's blood. If this young master was attacked, that would be the most terrifying. Just as the thief was captured and everyone was slightly relieved, there was suddenly an unforeseen event. The Lord of Still Wind Kingdom saw that among the guests, there were suddenly two heaven rankers with ordinary looks and strength, but in an instant they became as powerful as him. What shocked the Lord of Still Wind Kingdom the most was that these two fellows were not targeting the god's blood at all, but targeting young Master Titan. If these two people were going to capture young Master Titan, then it would be fine. But when the Lord of Still Wind Kingdom saw these two enemies attack, he knew that it was bad. These two enemies did not want to hold back at all, and directly wanted to kill young Master Titan. If young Master Titan was killed, no one could bear the consequences of this. The entire Tianhua region would probably be finished. As the Lord of Still Wind Kingdom, dying 10,000 times would not be enough. Thief, how dare you? This thought flashed through the Lord of Still Wind Kingdom's mind. He was furious and tried to intercept the attacks of these two assassins. Not to mention the Lord of Still Wind Kingdom, even Green Wolf, Wan Jiao, and Lu Luo, who were watching the show coldly, knew that it was bad. If young Master Titan died here, they would also be finished. But worried that Sky Execution and Long Xian and the other guards would misunderstand, they still stood still and waited for the result. Ignorant scoundrel, you're courting death. God's punishment Qing, who had been staying by Yu Yang's side, raised his lightning hand and sent the two assassins flying. Seeing God's retribution make his move, the three kings couldn't help but feel a chill run down their spines. Even if they had carefully calculated, they had still underestimated this fellow. An incomparably dazzling starlight flashed. Hulei discovered that the starlight was actually coming from behind him. Due to his previous misunderstanding with young Master Titan, although he had been forgiven, Cry Thunder had always wanted to express his apology. However, with his status, he could only sit at the outermost area of the main hall, with a group of heaven rankers who came to congratulate him. By the time he discovered the transparent thief, the thief had already been captured. By the time he discovered the second wave of ambushers, he had already raised his strength, ready to lend a helping hand at a moment's notice. Perhaps young Master Titan wouldn't really be in danger, but Hulei didn't mind showing off. At this moment behind him, suddenly, it released millions of dazzling starlight, stunning call thunder. Could it be that there were more enemies behind? He couldn't turn around in time. Those incomparably beautiful starlight had already released millions of starlight spots, transforming into a dreamlike galaxy. Everyone present was deeply mesmerized by this peerlessly perfect galaxy. The mesmerized people seemed to be completely immersed in the galaxy. Hulei discovered that everyone present was dumbfounded like puppets. Only the Lord of the Still Wind Kingdom was moving slowly. But to Hulei's horror, why was the Lord of the Still Wind Kingdom moving at the speed of an ant? Wasn't the speed too slow? The Lord of the Still Wind Kingdom knew what was going on. It was the power of a domain or the special ability of some kind of treasure. At the very least, it was a quasi-divine treasure. This terrifying power temporarily restricted the movements of everyone present. The Lord of the Still Wind Kingdom couldn't care less about the god's blood. The most important thing now was to protect young Master Titan. The enemy didn't only want the god's blood, but also the life of young Master Titan. The Lord of the Still Wind Kingdom couldn't even care about his most beloved pearl-glowing beauty anymore. He first rushed towards the motionless young Master Titan. This was because the Lord of the Still Wind Kingdom was about to intercept the assassin. When he returned, there was already a certain distance between him and young Master Titan, although the distance was no more than 2 meters. This distance of 2 meters was as far as the heavens and the earth, making Still Wind feel that it would be impossible to cross it in his lifetime. On the other side, Sky's Punishment, who had sent 2 powerful enemies flying with 1 lightning strike, was also quickly returning. However, his speed was incomparably inferior to the Lord of the Still Wind Kingdom. He was only slightly faster, and similarly, he was far from returning to Yu Yang's side. The pearl-glowing beauty's lips trembled slightly, as if she wanted to say something, but in the end, she didn't say anything. She returned to her motionless appearance, quietly waiting for the situation to change. The two powerful assassins who had been sent flying by Sky's punishment seemed to have treasures protecting them, ignoring the stagnant force of this galaxy. They were as fast as arrows released from a bowstring, furiously shooting towards Yang. There was a strange light flashing under their hands. Two purple-black assassination daggers flickered with the light of death. No! The Lord of the Still Wind Kingdom was so anxious that he wanted to cry. It was fine to kill anyone, but why must they kill this young master of the upper heaven realm? This young master had a lot of treasures. It was not a problem to rob him, but they must not kill him. If they killed him, would the Tianhua region still exist? However, the Lord of the Still Wind Kingdom was powerless to stop them, and could only watch this tragedy unfold, under the watchful eyes of everyone, just as the two assassins were about to stab their daggers into the young Master Titan's heart. Suddenly, the pet dog that had been crawling under the table and gnawing on a bone jumped up. It moved like a fleeing rabbit, as fast as lightning. Even the power of the galaxy, which was estimated to be at least a quasi-divine weapon, could not stop its movement. Because the Lord of the Still Wind Kingdom, Green Wolf, Wan Jiao, Lu Luo, and the other heaven rankers discovered that this unremarkable silly dog was actually a divine beast. The divine beasts will exploded wildly and instantly counteracted the suppression of the treasure's power. It summoned its grimoire and first used a protective shield to block the fatal blow of the two assassins, and then put its master, who could not move, into the grimoire world. It turned around and turned into a swirling black smoke, swirling like a tornado. It escaped from the main hall of the Lord of the Green Willow Kingdom. The two assassins, who had missed their attack, wanted to give chase, but they were intercepted by the monster that reacted. Even though they were experienced and knowledgeable, they could not help but exclaim, "A divine weapon with high intelligence." Although divine weapons were rare to a certain extent, they were not the rarest things. However, a divine weapon that knew how to transform into a weapon, had intelligence, and knew how to cover its master's escape in a critical moment was an absolutely rare existence. In other words, the difference between an ordinary Earth Divine weapon and an Earth Divine weapon with high intelligence was like the difference between a heaven-ranked beast and a divine beast. Although one was strong, it was destined to not have a very bright future. The other was not only strong, it was also destined to have an immeasurable future. Similarly, divine weapons were the same. One was only a divine weapon that had a spiritual connection with its master, while the other was an existence that could continuously grow and have a limitless future. Tao Tai's claws were as sharp as blades. Its whole body was like an iron wall, intercepting the enemy. The two assassins exhausted all their means, but could not pass through its interception range. They could only watch helplessly as the divine beast left, sighing helplessly. Fortunately, this divine weapon was eager to protect its master. When its master was completely out of danger, it immediately turned into a black light, like the birth of a divine weapon. It directly tore open the space and directly returned to its master's side through the anti-summoning ability. The Lord of the Still Wind Kingdom was extremely touched. That inconspicuous black dog was actually a divine beast. That ferocious-looking monster's divine weapon actually had such high intelligence. This was really a blessing from the heavens. No matter who the enemy was, they were destined to not have a good ending after offending young Master Titan. Especially now that young Master Titan was safely out of danger, the enemy's wishful thinking had failed, which was their fatal injury. Qing Lang and the other two kings were scared half to death. How could they have thought that the dog that had been gnawing on the bone was actually a divine beast? Fortunately, they had not tried to rob young Master Titan. Otherwise, they would not even know how they died. With a divine beast and divine weapon in hand, Sky Punishment, Long Xian, and Ming Feng as guards, and many heaven-rank subordinates, to think that they could touch young Master Titan? What a joke! They might as well challenge the Emperor of the Divine Light region instead of him. Young Master Titan was finally out of danger. However, the danger was still there. The two assassins, taking advantage of the power of the treasure suppression, did not flee, but instead advanced, one of them pouncing on the lord of the Still Wind Kingdom. The other pounced on the pearl-like beauty. Even faster than the two assassins, there was someone else in the hall, who floated in from the entrance of the main hall, as if he was returning to his own home. His movements were neither fast nor slow, but his speed was even faster than the lightning-fast assassins. Everyone could clearly see a golden man walking into the main hall. His looks were so handsome that it made people sigh. Apart from the charismatic young Master Titan, perhaps even the Cold Sky Punishment was slightly inferior in terms of looks. This handsome man was clad in golden dragon-patterned armor, and in his right hand he held a blazing sword of light with sword chi soaring to the heavens. Even though he had not brandished it, the sword chi of this sword seemed to have already pierced through everyone's hearts. And in his left hand he held a star diamond necklace that was as bright as the Milky Way. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, this man sheathed his sword. He held the golden box in Chief Steward Ye's hands in his hands, and then, with some kind of golden light power, he shattered the space and disappeared in an instant. Sky Punishment and Ji Feng's fists almost simultaneously hit the place where he had last stopped, but they both missed. Holding the quasi-divine weapon Divine Light Sword and the Galaxy Necklace, this man is the vengeful Regent Emperor. He must be, Qing Lang shouted. Humph! The king of the Still Wind Kingdom did not think so. This man indeed looked like the vengeful Regent Emperor, but if the vengeful Regent Emperor wanted to come, there was no need to reveal his true appearance. With the power of the vengeful Regent Emperor, he could totally kill everyone here and then leave. For a drop of God's blood, why use such petty tricks? With the ability of the vengeful Regent Emperor, it was far easier for him to befriend young Master Titan than it was for him. Why deliberately murder him? Someone must have deliberately disguised himself as the vengeful Regent Emperor, especially when young Master Titan escaped safely. This person immediately appeared, obviously trying to frame someone else. In the Tianhua domain, how many people had the ability to frame the vengeful Regent Emperor? Other than the other two Regent Emperors, only the Central Shrine. Would the two Regent Emperors dare to assassinate young Master Titan, the descendant of a famous clan in the Upper Realm, in public? No matter how stupid the Divine Light Regent Emperor and the Wrath Regent Emperor were, they would probably not do that, would they? In this way, other than those who had a conflict of interest with the four major clans in the Upper Realm, the king of the Still Wind Kingdom was not a fool. He immediately understood the hatred in his heart, but he was just unwilling to say it in public. Help! The Pearl Beauty's face turned pale. The king of the Still Wind Kingdom could easily avoid the enemy's attack without the special ability of the treasure, Galaxy, but the Pearl Beauty could not. She was so weak that she was almost killed by the assassin with one blow. Fortunately, there was the loyal personal guard captain, Yu Chao, who sacrificed himself to save her, so she could barely block the assassin's attack. The king of the Still Wind Kingdom did not have time to explain the change to Sky Execution and the others. He immediately rushed to save his most beloved woman. And Sky Execution also walked towards the captured transparent thief, ready to interrogate who ordered him to murder young Master Titan and become enemies with the famous clans and nobles in the Upper Realm. The two assassins were at a dead end, and every move they made was a fight to the death. Ji Feng wanted to capture them by force and interrogate them, so he responded calmly and signaled the Pearl Beauty to stay away. It would be best if she could retreat to the side of Sky Execution and the others to seek protection. After I die, everyone here, will be cursed. If you want to live, you must bring the Freedom Queen to the Still Wind Central Island. Ha ha, you have all fallen in my trap. The transparent thief laughed maniacally. Countless rune patterns gradually appeared on his originally transparent body, which rapidly expanded and mutated. Finally, it silently exploded, and the mutated black rune pattern fragments scattered on the bodies of the martial artists in the hall. Sky Execution used his energy to resist, but found that it was of no use. The rune fragments also disappeared into his arm and into his body. He could not help but frown. There is indeed an invasion of abnormal energy. This is a curse, a curse. The king of 10,000 Jiao cursed in disgust. Damn it. Let's take down those two damned assassins together. Brother Ji Feng, we will help you. Just as Green Wolf was willing to step forward and help the king of the Still Wind Kingdom, the two assassins suddenly showed signs of exploding. King, leave quickly. The loyal Yu Chao pounced on the enemy, wanting to perish together with the enemy, but let his lord leave. You want to explode? If it's not that easy. The king of the Still Wind Kingdom knew that it was not impossible to explode, but it needed time. In the hands of experts like himself and Sky Execution, could they really explode so easily? Even if the two of them could not stop them, they should at least capture one, right? Otherwise, did these fugitives really think that the king of the Still Wind Kingdom was so easily bullied? The king of the Still Wind Kingdom attacked the two assassins with all his might before Yu Chao. Green Wolf, 10,000 Jiao, and Lu Luo had already rushed over. Sky Execution, Long Xian, and Dark Wind had also formed a circular encirclement. Want to explode? You have to ask for our permission first. Just as the situation was about to become a foregone conclusion, another unforeseen event occurred. Yu Chao, who had always been loyal, suddenly stabbed a dagger into the king of the Still Wind Kingdom's back. This poisonous assassination dagger was exactly the same as the one in the two assassins' hands. It ignored the dragon leather armor of the Still Wind Kingdom and directly penetrated his back muscles, nailing into his heart. The meatball-like third steward, who was trembling in fear, grabbed the pearl-like beauty with one hand and rushed over with a golden splendor. Yu Chao, the two assassins, the meatball-like third steward, and the pearl-like beauty all strangely broke through space and teleported away in the split second when everyone reacted. The way they left was exactly the same as the way the handsome man who snatched the god's blood left. The king of the Still Wind Kingdom fell to the ground, blood gushing out from where he was stabbed by the dagger. Everyone was silent for a long time. No one spoke. No one expected things to turn out like this. Even Green Wolf, 10,000 Jiao, and Lu Luo, who were prepared to cause trouble, did not expect things to turn out this way. Chapter 949. The Sky Execution and the Dragon Monarch looked at each other in silence. And Chief Steward Yi, who recovered from a shock, stood up tremblingly. Master, if you have any last words, please entrust them to Mr. Sky Execution. My status is low. I'm afraid I can't bear such a heavy responsibility. Although this chief steward, Yi, was panicking, he was not muddle-headed. At such a critical moment, his first choice was the powerful Sky Execution. Now that young Master Tai Tan was not present, Green Wolf, Wan Jiao, and Lu Luo were eyeing him covetously. If they interfered, not only Green Willow City, but the entire Still Wind Kingdom would be cleanly divided by the three. Therefore, it was better to entrust it to Sky Execution. Once young Master Tai Tan returned and arranged for everyone, he believed that the Still Wind Kingdom's last wishes could be fulfilled. You are still the most loyal. The Still Wind Kingdom's king smiled painfully and suddenly stood up. Energy rays burst forth from his body, and he, who was weak and on the verge of death, quickly recovered. If not for the poisonous dagger in his back and the blood flowing out of his body, people would have doubted their eyes. Chief Steward Yi, the city lords, and the heaven-rank warriors could not help but cheer loudly. No matter what, they did not want the Still Wind Kingdom's king to die. If Ji Feng fell, then they would have to change owners. After changing owners, their current glory, splendor, and wealth would not be guaranteed. Entrusting it to young Master Titan and Sky's retribution would be fine. They probably wouldn't try to take over a rural place like Green Willow City. Everyone would probably be content with their own duties. However, if Green Wolf, Wan Jiao, and Lu Luo were to take over, then all of the trusted aides here would probably die. Even some of the city lords would have to be replaced. No one wanted to see this. Now that the Still Wind Kingdom's king stood up again, everyone was obviously happy. Green Wolf, Wan Jiao, and Lu Luo were slightly disappointed. But their eyes were sharp. They noticed some details that ordinary heaven-rank warriors could not notice, and their lips curled into a cold smile. This Xi Feng had recovered, but had he really recovered to his original state? Impossible, the dagger in his heart, and it was that kind of poison. Without an elemental body, it was impossible for Xi Feng to be immune to poison. The assassin's targeted murder was very successful. The current Still Wind Kingdom's king was just putting up a strong front. However, with God's retribution and the others there, Green Wolf and the other two didn't make a move. They pretended they didn't see Wind's weakness. Mr. Tianju, I feel extremely apologetic, but I can't say it out loud. Today's matter was Xi Feng's fault alone, implicating young Master Tai Tan and all the distinguished guests. He truly felt guilty in his heart. Presently, Xi Feng hopes for young Master Tai Tan to be safe and sound the most. Everything else can be put aside for now. I wonder how we should search for young Master Tai Tan's tracks. After the Lord of the Still Wind Kingdom said this, everyone fell silent again. The Lord of the Still Wind Kingdom was not dead, so there was no need to worry anymore. However, the noble young Master Tai Tan had just been assassinated, so it was best if nothing happened to him. Otherwise, Green Willow City would also be destroyed. With Grey Wolf's protection, it should be fine. Dragon King stayed in the hall for the time being, while God's retribution left quickly. 10 minutes later, God's retribution brought back the Grey Wolf that didn't look amazing, but was actually a mythical beast that made everyone's eyes pop out. It summoned its grimoire, which shone with a golden light, dazzling everyone's eyes. Seeing that this mongrel mythical beast grimoire was actually platinum ranked, everyone present, including the Lord of the Still Wind Kingdom, felt extremely ashamed. This was because among the many heaven rankers, only Xi Feng, Green Wolf, and the other two kings had summoning grimoires. However, Xi Feng's grimoire was silver ranked. It wasn't even gold ranked, let alone platinum ranked. The number of talents in the Tianhua region had been severely depleted due to the chaos of war. Heaven rankers that could contract grimoires were as rare as phoenix feathers and unicorn horns. Moreover, some kings would kill the younger generation that had contracted grimoires but didn't have enough time to grow. This made the number of grimoire holders very few, and it became a rare item that only kings had. Divine Beast has descended. We have been too slow. Please forgive us. Chief Butler hurriedly led Jean class leader and the other servants to bow to Grey Wolf, paying their respects sincerely. Meow. Grey Wolf proudly made a yes gesture that it learned from Yu Yang, and then released its master from the grimoire world. Everyone watched nervously. This young Master Titan who had been assassinated, please don't get angry. He reckoned that a young master like him had never experienced such excitement before. If not for the Divine Beast protection, this young master from the Heaven Realm would have been seriously injured even if he didn't die. When Yu Yang came out, he immediately laughed out loud. Not bad, extremely exciting. I didn't think that there would be assassins at a birthday banquet. This is really fun. All right, have you caught those assassins? I want to interrogate them personally. Prepare a whip and a soldering iron. I want to see what torture is like. Hearing this young Master Titan's words, everyone was relieved, but also felt that it was funny. It's good that you were fine. However, it was definitely not a fun thing to have assassins at a birthday banquet. It was good that this kind of thing happened once, otherwise it would really be hard to clean up. The king of Still Wind Kingdom also heaved a sigh of relief in his heart. It was a small matter that he was attacked, but if this young master was injured somewhere, that would be terrible. He stepped forward and bowed slightly, first apologizing, then sighed. The enemy came with a plan. Xi Feng was really powerless to stop it. Fortunately, Brother Titan was not injured. Otherwise, even 100 deaths would not be enough to atone for it. Now the assassins have already escaped without a trace, and even captured Xi Feng's beloved concubine. He recounted the cause and effect of what had happened. Of course, he did not mention the suspicion that the other party was from the central shrine, and purposely came to assassinate young Master Titan to frame the vengeful Regent Emperor. He had to say this, but he could not say it in front of the Green Wolf Kingdom king and the others. He had to find a chance to tell this young Master Titan secretly. He had not lost yet. With young Master Titan on his side, and the support of Sky Execution, Long Xian, and Ming Feng, he still had the power to fight. So what if the god's blood was taken away? I will give you another drop. Don't be sad. On the other hand, Lady Pearlite, because of us, Titan is very uneasy. As long as there are clues that can lead us to find her on that central island, we must rescue her safely. This group of assassins is really too arrogant. They actually have ideas on this young master. I have decided I will fight them to the end, otherwise they will think that this young Master Titan is easy to bully. Zhongguan, gather all my guards. This young master wants to smash that so-called central island into pieces. Yu Yang waved his hand, indicating that the battlefield had shifted to the central island of Stillwind Swamp. This battle was not over yet. Even the king of Stillwind Kingdom, who had a heart of stone, was moved. This young Master Titan was really loyal. To have a friend like him was really good. Green Wolf and the others were extremely jealous. Damn, what kind of dog shit luck does Ji Feng have? The god's blood was gone, but not only did he not blame him, he even said that he would give him another drop. If not for this guy being injured and unable to absorb the god's blood, maybe that young Master Titan would have given him the god's blood on the spot to comfort him. Damn, this guy Ji Feng's luck is really heaven-defying. Why didn't that Yu Chao stab him to death just now? Green Wolf, Wan Jiao, and Lu Luo looked at each other and nodded secretly. They had already seen Ji Feng's weakness. It was definitely the heart. Yu Chao, this traitor, as the person who was most familiar with Ji Feng, there was no reason not to attack Ji Feng's biggest weakness. For ordinary heaven rankers, the heart was not a weakness, but for rankers at the level of a king, it didn't matter even if their hearts were shattered. For example, even if Green Wolf's heart was shattered, he could still fight without any hindrance. However, Ji Feng, who was also a king, fell to the ground after being stabbed in the heart. If not for Sky Execution, Ji Feng would definitely lose his life. If they really wanted to kill Ji Feng, they would have to attack his heart. Right now, he was just forcing his injuries to not act up. The king of Ji Feng coldly looked at Green Wolf and the others, and under everyone's gaze, whispered a secret message in Yu Yang's ear. Other than Yu Yang, no one else could hear it. Yu Yang nodded repeatedly, while Ji Feng's eyes became colder and colder. Green Wolf and the other heaven rankers felt a chill in their hearts. Could it be that Ji Feng wanted to push the blame onto himself? Or was there some suspicious clue that he had discovered? No one knew the truth. But young Master Titan, who was surrounded by the crowd, quickly made a reaction. He clenched his fists, his smile disappeared, and his eyes revealed dense killing intent, making people shiver. This is really interesting. Since that's the case, we have to prepare for the battle seriously. I haven't been this serious for a long time. There are many people who want to touch me, Titan, but how many of them will have the last laugh? Everyone present was surprised to find that when this young master became serious, there was a kind of oppressive feeling that came without anger. Although his strength was not high, he was probably a quasi-heaven ranker and only reached heaven ranker by relying on treasures. But forget about normal heaven rankers. Even rankers like the king of Green Wolf Empire could make this young Master Titan's killing intent oppress them, causing their hearts to palpitate. In the upper realm, there was definitely no weakling. This sentence, it was indeed correct. When Chief Manager Yi and the others prepared the luxurious airship and prepared to head to the island in the center of Stillwind Swamp, Ming Ri Hao, who was originally hiding to eat and drink, came out. When no one was paying attention, he secretly gave Yu Yang a punch. Not bad. Your trick really succeeded. What I admire the most is that those assassins were actually so cooperative. What kind of reasoning did you use to reach this step? I used my brain. Yu Yang was extremely arrogant as he looked down on this lazy fellow who didn't put in any effort to work. If that force appears, will you guys be enough? Ming Ri Hao was already used to being looked down on by Yu Yang, so he was no longer angry. What you guys? Us? If you continue to be lazy, I will immediately leave and give you the entire godly grimoire. If you have the ability, you can slowly kill those bastards from the central shrine who like to sneak attack people from the back, and keep the godly grimoire for yourself. Yu Yang warned Ming Rihao not to play dead, otherwise they would break up. This was what Ming Rihao was most afraid of. He hurriedly waved his hands. Hey, I say, third young master, let's talk this out, don't get angry. I was not being lazy just now. I was just acting according to your plan. Furthermore, if that pearl light didn't leave, once I appeared, she would most likely see through my disguise. Wouldn't that be bad? From now on, I will definitely listen to your instructions. If you tell me to go east, I won't go west. If you tell me to shut up, I won't leak any air. Is there really a godly grimoire here? The Dragon Emperor was still a little doubtful. I actually hope that this Tianhua region doesn't have one. Yu Yang felt that it would be best if there wasn't one. Then he wouldn't have to fight against an abnormal super ranker like Jiwori. I'm not interested in the godly grimoire. However, I must try to become the palace master of the central shrine. This was what Sky Execution, the battle maniac, had said. He knew that it was impossible for him to contract the godly grimoire. The godly grimoire was something that even an abnormal brat like Yu Yang would have a headache over. He didn't even need to think about it. However, he really wanted to challenge the powerful palace master of the central shrine. There will be a chance. If you aren't afraid of me beating you up, I can say something that isn't very pleasant to hear. I reckon that even if all of you fought together, you wouldn't be able to defeat one of them. Ming Rihao knew how powerful the palace master of the central shrine was. It's useless to threaten them. They have already killed 2 deputy palace masters. They are feeling proud of themselves. If they don't run into a snag, they won't believe it. Yu Yang gloated and laughed. You guys killed 2 deputy palace masters? Ming Rihao was so surprised that his eyeballs almost fell out. Since when did the deputy palace masters of the central shrine become so common? No wonder this Sky Execution said that he wanted to challenge the palace master. Feng Ji and Jin Yun, the 2 newcomers who had just joined the team, had tears streaming down their cheeks. What kind of people were they following? Fighting against the central shrine? Their future was bleak. Just when Yu Yang, Sky Execution, Ming Rihao, and the others were discussing how to proceed with the next step of their plan, suddenly, a heavenly voice resounded through the sky. It came from a direction that was far away. It was like a clear spring in one's soul. In an instant, it had cleansed everyone's soul and cleared all the turbid air in their chests. The 2 barbaric bulls who were eating and drinking immediately jumped up. Freedom Queen, you're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.